if you have friends, family in this area, I urge you to text, call, let folks know here around Smithville. Here we are on a Friday night. We've got a dangerous storm, a significant storm, and a tornado warning that is now approaching Marion County at this time. And looking at those first alert times, you can see this shows Guin 11:15 and the Hamilton area there at 11:14. First alert Chief Meteorologist Wes Wyatt. Just get to that safe place, turn the television up. You can hear us right here on Fox 6. We're going to stay right here with you as this moves into Marion County. This is going to be crossing right there around I-22. Guin is included in those first alert times on this as this tracks to the north and east, and hopefully this will weaken over the next few scans, but things are kind of evolving quickly here. I mean, you look at the movement on this. These things are racing off towards the northeast. BTI again right at a 7 out of 10. That's just a numerical value on a scale of 1 to 10 if we had to look at the threat index on this. And this is a very active zone through here. I mean, last event, this is one of those same areas where we got a tornado and they seem to kind of ramp up in this zone. Hopefully it will weaken, but what a strong indication there. You can see a well-confined debris signature, and that's the thing, is this is so close to the radar site. We get a good view of the low part of that storm where the tornado would be. What you really want to see is right there what's close to the surface, and this is crossing the debris you can see being lofted thousands of feet up into the atmosphere right there around Lake Monroe over in the Mississippi. There's the Tombigbee River. That's Highway 278. You can see it's about to cross there just off to the west around Amory, Mississippi. But one of the reasons you're probably wondering, why are we covering a warning that's out of the DMA right now? Well, we're giving you the first alert because this is moving towards Marion County at this time, and we've got indications of a significant storm here, and this is a storm that's produced multiple confirmed tornadoes and damage as it's moved across Mississippi. There have been tornado emergencies associated with this storm as it moved north of Jackson, but we've got a warning that is coming for parts of Marion, and this may include Lamar County as well. Lauren is circling some of the communities here where I want you getting to that safe spot here. If you're in Hamilton, Bexar, Byrd, and Detroit areas, as this approaches, there's Hackleburg, and you can see that that's moving in this general direction here. But what happened is right there towards the end of the newscast, it kind of weakened, and then it didn't take long, it recycled again, and that's what happens sometimes with these long track storms. They'll go through different stages, and they'll peak, they'll produce a tornado, and then they look like they might weaken. But then when you deal with a storm like this, they tend to go through those stages, and you really have to watch out for them starting to gain strength yet again, and that's exactly what's happened with this. But you know, this is that one area we've been telling you about off to the north and west where we're seeing those greater dynamics. Now again, this is well north of Tuscaloosa, well north of Birmingham. In fact, I think we might have a wider view. You can see I'll try to go to the wide view so just so you can see the entire coverage area and what's going on here with respect to Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, and Anniston areas. Had one little storm that popped up, and that was over. It moved across Fayette County. You can see it weakened there as it moved north and kind of moved away from some of that support. But the storms that we're watching right now, you can see there's Birmingham, here's Tuscaloosa, here's Asheville, Anniston, Coleman. This is still, well to the west of us. We need to keep an eye on this as this runs closer to Marion and closer to Winston counties, but that's the one right there as it's moving in. Lauren, do we have an update? I know you mentioned the National Weather Service. They talked about issuing a warning on this.
Yeah, Wes, I mean, this is a very concerning storm. Unfortunately, we are seeing the National Weather Service is in the process of issuing that warning, likely going to be extended into parts of Lamar and Winston County, or into Marion County, excuse me. So in this area here, if you live right along the state line from Marion County down towards Lamar County, you need to go ahead and get in your safe spot because this is a very dangerous storm. And Wes, I think we actually just got that warning in from the National Weather Service. It's not showing up here just yet, but it is a confirmed tornado, and the damage with this is going to be considerable. If you have friends or family who live in a mobile home in northern Lamar County or in western Marion County, you need to call them right now so they are in their safe place, because this storm is likely causing destruction as it is moving through. We have been seeing that debris signature on radar here, and this is moving to, well, first of all, this is in effect until 11:45 p.m. Central Time, and is moving toward the northeast at about 60 miles per hour. So this is a very fast moving storm, but what that tells me is that it is going to be moving very quickly into Marion County. And so notice that warning has not actually been issued for northern Lamar County, but in western and northern Marion County, anywhere from Hamilton up towards Hackleburg, that's where you need to go ahead and be in your safe spot, because this storm will be on your doorstep here shortly. Now, right now, the tornado is actually still located in Mississippi. You can see to our west in Mississippi, getting closer to that state line, Bigby, Highland Park, Amory, Flynn, right in the line of fire. Well, you'll notice almost what looks like a little notch here on radar. That is seeing that inflow going into the storm, this warm inflow that is fueling this very dangerous storm, and has created this environment for which a dangerous tornado is currently making its way northeast towards the Alabama-Mississippi state line. So we'll see if we can pull up some first alert times on this so we can get an idea of, once this moves into West Alabama, where exactly it could go. I'm going to try to pull that up for you right here. But again, if you have friends or family, or you're tuning in with us, if you live in Marion County, you need to go ahead and get to that safe spot right now, because this is a damaging and dangerous storm. And we've been seeing a lot of storms tonight that have been producing damage, devastating damage across Mississippi. And this is going right into that corridor that we are initially looking at that could see that potential for some strong storms. So we've got those first alert times here. If you live in Smithville, 11:01 p.m. Detroit, a first alert for this tornado coming towards you at 11:10 p.m. 11:11 Tremont. 11:18 Hamilton, and Vina at 11:22. So make sure you are in that interior room of your home, away from windows, on the lowest level. If you have friends or family who live in a mobile or manufactured home, they need to get to that storm shelter or a friend or family's house. You want to be safe and do not want to be in the line of this storm, Wes.
All right, Lauren, and you can see now the storm's nearing Amory, Mississippi, and this is something you don't see often with our system. That little circle right there, that is our debris icon. When that pops up, our system has a very good idea that there is debris being lofted with this. This is a dangerous storm, a significant tornado likely here, moving towards Smithville, Mississippi. As Lauren noted, let's give you those first alert times, and we're showing you here not only in the Mississippi, Smithville, Detroit. That is northern Lamar County. And Lauren, let's back the view out just a bit to show Alabama, because I know northern Lamar. Let's go back in a little bit closer. Let's hold the view right here. So you can see here's Lamar County. The warning is actually up in here that we see across northern Marion County, but it looks as though the way that's tracking, that's going to be very close. Here's Detroit that you see on that first alert time that was showing up. Actually, there's showing 11:10, so it's going to be close on this. You know, if you're in these areas, this is a dangerous storm right here. If you're watching in the southern Marion County, in the southwest part of Marion County, and even right here, if you're in the vicinity of Detroit, I would be in a safe spot until this passes by. Sometimes these storms, they're notorious. Sometimes they'll sometimes hook around to the right when you have these more robust storms like this. I've seen that happen, so we just need to watch this closely in here. If you're watching around Detroit, you can see the polygon takes this again across the line. That's going to be moving right here. This is I-22, and we can drop that marker real quickly here, and I'll show the areas that this is moving towards. Again, here's I-22. I think we might have a manual track we need to clear off here. So let's clear that off the screen, and we are looking at the debris tracker on this. There we go. So you can see the polygon, the warning. So around the Newburgh area to the north, and looks like Scottsville, you are in the polygon as well. So if you're watching us there around the Scottsville area, this is I-22. Here's Hamilton, and if you're anywhere in the vicinity of Hamilton, and you can see Ewan's not included in the polygon, but the tornado is actually back in here around Smithville. That's it right there. You can see the little curl. That's going to bring this. Actually, yeah, you can see that's going to follow right in there. So I mentioned Detroit a few moments ago. Looks like if this holds this track, it's going to stay right there with the Weather Service. They've got this drawn out. There's Bexar. You can see between Bexar and the bird community especially. Get to that safe place right now. Let folks know that we've got a dangerous storm approaching. And this is one of those storms here that it's a nasty one. I mean, we've seen a lot of ground confirmation back to the west. Hopefully this will weaken. Hopefully it will start to kind of lose some strength as it moves in, but we need to really get the word out here for folks. You've got some time as this approaches right now. These are critical minutes here as this gets closer. Barnesville, Weston area. Lauren is circling those communities on there. If you live anywhere along County Road 11, if you live around Highway 19, Highway 17 North, want you, if you're in that polygon, you can see Hackleburg here is included in that polygon. And, you know, here around Hackleburg, anytime we hear Smithville, Mississippi, we always know those storms kind of track in that direction. Hopefully Hackleburg, this will weaken, but you are included. You have a little time. The Tessner area is also included in that. We're right there on the polygon in Hamilton. Now, if you're watching further south, if you're in places like Winfield and your weather radio is going off right now, I know a lot of those weather radios throughout the county are currently going off in these areas. At this point, the main concern is north of you. This is the one area that really stands out. Lauren, are we seeing, I assume this is the only warning that we have right now. I'm seeing a lot of these polygons. Are we seeing anything south of this that may be trying to develop? That tornado, though, quite evident here, now moving in. Look at this. I know a lot of times, you know, sometimes we really struggle to look at those inbound and outbound winds on the radar, but you can see that that is well evident here and easy to decipher what we call couplet. That is the tornado. That's the radar detecting the hydrometeors, the raindrops moving towards away from the radar there. You can see we've got quite a circulation here that's moving towards Smithville, Mississippi at this time. This is closing in. There's a tornado right now producing damage in this area, and there's the debris just crossed the river. There's the debris. Lauren, we can actually highlight. Let's just check really quickly here. I'm just interested to look at the elevation here. So we're seeing up to nearly 1,000 feet, I mean, or even higher, some of that debris being lofted over 1,000 feet up. I mean, we're looking at debris, possibly, you know, tree limbs, leaves, all kinds of materials from where this, hopefully this isn't, you know, structural debris. Hopefully this has touched down in an area that's very remote, and there's no neighborhoods that have been hit out here. But this is, again, you're looking at Mississippi, but this is the storm that really has our attention right now that's moving in towards Alabama. But Lauren, I assume at this point, I mean, based on what I was seeing, I don't want us to miss anything. This is the one storm at this time, the only one that we see at this time that's approaching Marion County. We don't see anything south of here just yet, do we?
No, Wes, we haven't been seeing anything to the south. This is our main storm of concern in far east Mississippi that is going to be moving into northwest Alabama here within the next 30 minutes. So what we're seeing here on radar is called the correlation coefficient. Translation, we're just tracking the debris that's being lofted into the atmosphere. And this is a very powerful storm because the debris is getting very high up into the atmosphere. And this is just something you don't see every day, which is why this is a particularly dangerous tornado, and that is going to have devastating consequences. Once again, we're seeing on our Barron system here this tornado debris signature popping up. So where you've got that blue there and that rotation, that is indicating where that tornado is moving to the northeast at about 60 miles per hour. So the one spot, as we kind of reframe here, that we have been watching that tornado warning being extended into West Alabama, northwest Alabama, is parts of Marion County. So if we put a track here to get an idea where this is going as it goes into Marion County, so we can get some of those first alert times. And I want to move it around here. So if you're at home and you can see this, you want to be able to see this. Maybe you have us on mute. Going to Smithville at 11:04 p.m., Hamilton 11:22 p.m., Vina at 11:26, Hodges 11:29, and Hackleburg at 11:31. So again, this is coming in within the next 30 minutes. We have not seen anything in the way of significant weakening thus far, but it's certainly something we're going to watch. But this is along that same corridor that we've been mentioning today that was under that level 3 out of 5 enhanced risk, where the ingredients were going to be particularly favorable west of I-65 and north of I-20 to see damaging storms like this develop. And it has certainly been a catastrophic night in parts of Mississippi. So, you know, we're never going to try to underplay or overplay an event for you, but Wes, we've certainly been watching the storm, and this is a dangerous one. So if you are under this tornado warning in Marion County, you have got to get to that safe spot. If you have friends or family in a mobile home, please let them know the storm is en route.
Yeah, this is that area we've been telling you about. You know, to the northwest, our data has been locked in on this area here. Just our friend John DeBlock with the National Weather Service just noted that debris, you know, we were talking about over 1,000 feet, debris lofted up to 15 to 20,000 feet up. This is probably one of the stronger, you've probably got to go back to the Selma day, the day we had the Selma tornado. This is the strongest couplet that I've seen or indication of a tornado via radar. Even though we've had some severe weather since then, this is certainly a strong indication here. So, you know, I just want to let folks know that there's a chance as we gather more scans of this, hopefully it will weaken, but we're going to stay right here with you. If you're in Marion County, you got some precious time here, and likely Lamar County. I mentioned Detroit a few moments ago. In those areas, if you're watching, I know Sulligent, you're tuned in here to Fox 6. Those areas to the north right there, you may be going under a severe thunderstorm warning. So just to let you know, there's areas on the outskirts. I mean, anytime you see a tornado warning like this is a severe thunderstorm. So you're going to have some strong winds. You're going to have the threats of some intense lightning, some large hail as this moves north. So these things are going to bring all kinds of threats here as they move north. But the main thing about this, and it's really taken on quite a unique characteristic compared to earlier. It was a bit more isolated when this thing started out back into western Mississippi, but we've seen it kind of evolved as it moved across central Mississippi. At one point, it almost looked like we had two vortices with this thing at one point, but there have been, what you're looking at now is, Lauren, are we back to a tornado emergency on this? Let's click into this polygon.
Not yet, Wes. They said they would, well, as far as for here in Alabama, the National Weather Service. So it is an emergency now.
It is an emergency.
But
so this is in Mississippi. So this is a tornado emergency for folks here around Smithville in the Mississippi. Let's go back here to Smithville. And this is the tornado now. So we've got a tornado emergency in Mississippi in the Smithville area producing damage. That is about to cross here close to looks like the Turon area. Hope I'm saying that correctly. Again, we're over into Mississippi. This is crossing there around Highway 25. This is now this is north of Starkville. This is north of Columbus, Mississippi. This is about to cross into the Marion County, the northwest corner of our coverage area. Here's the tornado. It's moving quickly. It's now past Smithville. So the tornado's past Smithville. It will be very interesting, Lauren, to see if we can find some ground truth here, what's happening. I know we had one of our storm spotters, Ryan Carty, they were trying to intercept this storm. Hopefully they stay south of it. You know, that's what we often tell storm spotters. You see how this is moving to the northeast? When you're spotting these things, you know, tornadoes, they typically, with these storms like this, they move southwest to northeast. And that's why we're focused in on this northwest corner, primarily here around Highway 19, the Scottsville area here in the northwest Marion County. Let's get in here and show you those first alert times for folks watching Hamilton. We're right on the cusp of this. I mean, this thing, the polygon line runs right through the city, so it's going to be a close call here. And there's that severe thunderstorm warning, by the way, I told you that would be for Lamar County, so that's to keep us covered there. We're going to have some winds as this thing rolls by. This is a nasty line that's moving into Alabama at the moment, and you can see time-wise, here we are at 11:06. So as we get closer to 11:30, our system was telling us here by 11:30 this may be crossing into Alabama. So the community that you're looking at here, this is in Marion County, is the Byrd area, the Bexar area, and then we have Scottsville, which is right in this part of Marion County. This is I-22. And Hamilton is back here. So I mentioned the line runs right through Hamilton. So if you live anywhere in the city, points north, I want you in a safe spot. I want you that interior room, and I want you to put as many walls between you and the outside. This is moving so quickly here that at this point, especially if you're, as Lauren is circling, I mentioned Bexar, there's the Barnesville area. If you're in any of these communities that I'm calling out, at this point, you need to shelter in place. You need to get to that safe spot. Now, I will tell you this, mobile homes, not a recommended safe place. So if you live in a mobile home, you're better outside of that mobile home. Try to get to a nearby, whether it's a truck stop, store, a place that's a bit sturdier, a site-built structure. That's where you want to be if that's your last resort. Hopefully you can get to a shelter, you can get to a concrete reinforced safe room from something like this. Looks like let's look at the shear rate from Columbus on this. I just want to check it. Yeah, still looks like you see that, some extreme rotation with this as it's now closing in on West Alabama. Tornado warning, observed tornado now. This is for Marion till 11:45. Confirmed large, this is words from the National Weather Service, confirmed large, extremely dangerous tornado located near New Salem, or 12 miles southeast of Fulton. It's moving northeast at 60 miles per hour. So an observation here based on the velocity. And Lauren, one of the reasons why I wanted you to check this is what may be happening. It may be cycling once again. It may be producing the tornado, and then we may see it start to ramp up again. But you can see there the latest scan at least showing us that we had a pretty strong signal of a tornado there around the Turon area. So hopefully the Weather Service noting it may be occluding, what we call rear flank downdraft occlusion. The tornado, it produces a tornado dissipates, and then it cycles around again. Sometimes that can happen, so it gets really rain wrapped in those situations. So let's see what happens here. Next few scans, hopefully it will continue to weaken, but you can see that really gets my attention anytime you see something like that there that comes in. So watching the communication coming in right now as this tornado moves into or closer to Marion County. This is now about to cross into Alabama right there at the Bexar area. So there's a Bexar Farms and places there along Marion County Road 33. If you're watching me around Barnesville, Weston, you can see Lauren's placed the Weston community there on the map. Here's the debris signature. You can see it's getting closer to the state line. There's the Bexar area. And just to try to pinpoint some locations in here, this is going to be right there. If you're watching me on Spearman Road in Smith Temple Church, if you're on Spearman Road, which is right in this area, that's where this thing's going to move across the state line and move into Alabama here. So Bexar and around the Spearman Road area, that's where the tornado's first going to move in if it's still producing damage here. You can see it's getting closer. The purple polygons that you see, typically with a tornado warning, you often see red. This is a new thing. When you see these polygons turn purple, that stands for a tornado's been confirmed, whether it's a debris signature, spotter verification. But then what happens is when you get to those situations where you've got multiple reports, you know you've got a tornado still on the ground producing damage, you'll see something like, what you see in Mississippi. There's another level of polygon, and that's for a tornado emergency. So yeah, this is kind of a new product, and this is something that we show you, but it really highlights, there's many times we have multiple tornado warnings. Sometimes we get in those situations, and you know which one's actually producing damage or which one may be weakening. So this can help us really decipher, the storms of the moment sometimes when these events move through. Again, I'm not expecting this to be, a widespread outbreak. We're not going to have 15 warnings or tornadoes like this that's going to move across our area tonight. That's just not going to happen. It's not that kind of setup. However, it only takes one, just like this one storm right here. And this has actually been so far the storm of the night, this one right here. There's been some active weather north. We've had some tornado warnings, but as far as we're concerned, this has been the one that we've been kind of keeping our eye on. It's been moving towards the state throughout the evening. Started around 6 o'clock o'clock back in the far southwestern Mississippi, and now it's making its way into Alabama. But this is what you're looking at. It's Marion County. Let's reset the stage here, Lauren. You're watching WBRC Fox 6, and we're on with continuous coverage for a tornado warning. Now that is in Marion County. Let's go to radar mode so you can see Lauren is placing the watches on the screen. Currently, Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, Anniston. We're not in a tornado watch. That tornado watch is for areas back to the northwest. This is where we had highlighted right there. You see Walker, Fayette, Lamar, Winston, and Coleman counties. That watch is in effect until 3 o'clock. Will this be extended further south and east? We'll have to wait and see. I do think that there is still going to be a severe weather risk as this moves further south, especially when it comes to the wind threat as this moves further south into the heart of the area. But what you're seeing right now, it looks kind of messy. That's what we're really starting to see here, Lauren, with this. It doesn't look quite as pronounced. I mean, the storms were a bit more discreet, I guess you could call it, in the earlier scans when this was back over to Mississippi, but those storms are getting more embedded in this line, so it's not taking on the classic representation, I guess you could say, but nevertheless, that one area that's been the trouble spot all night long is still showing us right in here that we have a strong circulation. And let's take a look at this. And there it is, getting closer now to, there's Barnesville, Bexar area. You're looking, this is north of Lamar County, moving into Marion County, Alabama. The Hodges area here, Hackleburg is right here. So Hackleburg, Hodges, Tessner area is right in here. I mentioned Highway 19 north. If you're watching me along Highway 19 north, you're in the polygon. As that approaches, there's a look at the winds that are moving towards the Columbus radar site. The reds are the winds that are moving away from the Columbus radar site. We have a lot of red out here because that wind is from the south. It's moving away. So you can see that circulation really tightens up. That warm air from the south is feeding into this circulation right in here. It's kind of maybe broadened up a little bit. And we've got a good eye on this. This is one of the better views that we have in the entire area with that Columbus radar right there just down the road. So we have a pretty good eye on this, and that's why you can see, still seeing rotation in the extreme category now. And I don't think we have a shear marker on this, which is a good indication right now as well. So hopefully it has weakened a little bit. But again, this is spinning quite a bit, as you can tell. I mean, we have about everything showing a sign from spinning circles here to rotation. That you know that there's some circulation going on with this. So we're going to stay with it as it makes its way now across the state line. I mentioned a few moments ago Spearman Road, and just want to make sure I don't leave anyone out and don't want to miss anything here. Lauren, let's check in here. Let me get an update from you. I know you're monitoring the communication. Are we seeing any ground truth at the moment, any damage coming from what we're seeing right now on TV?
No, Wes, we're not seeing anything that is coming up in chat or anywhere on social media just yet. So we're just continuing to keep a close eye on our chat with the National Weather Service. But we are noting one thing that has happened. Instead of extending the tornado warning across all of Marion County, notice now this yellow polygon that is highlighted across the county. You still have that purple area where you would see that confirmed tornado moving to the northeast. And as Wes mentioned, it's moving very quickly, likely going to be crossing I-22 as it moves to the northeast at 60 miles per hour. But this yellow polygon indicates a new severe thunderstorm warning. So even if you live, let's say, somewhere like Pikeville or Piney Grove, and you're not under that tornado warning polygon, you do have a severe thunderstorm warning because this is part of a batch of storms that are embedded within this main line that have had the potential to produce damaging winds. And we're already hearing the winds whipping here at the station too. So this is what we are mentioning as well. Even before you hear any raindrops falling outside, the winds are going to be picking up through the evening, which is why that wind advisory is in effect through 7 a.m. So if you live in Marion County and you are not included in the tornado warning polygon, there's still going to be the potential, even outside of any tornado possibly moving through, that you are going to be hearing some very strong wind gusts. We're talking winds potentially on the order of 50, 60 miles per hour. And I'll try to clean up what we're looking at here so you can have a better idea of just how strong the winds could be within this tornado. We did note that the rotation with this particular storm has broadened a little bit, but if we get an idea of just how strong these winds could be, I mean, look at this. Now, this is going a little high up into the atmosphere. So this is registering winds at about 900 feet off the ground here as it's approaching Marion County at possibly 109 miles per hour. So you go just 900 feet down to the surface, that could be translating to possibly at least 80 mile per hour winds. So even if the rotation has broadened on this tornado, regardless of whether you have still as strong of a tornado as it was in East Mississippi, the winds are going to be damaging with this storm. And there we go, actually just seen from the National Weather Service now here in Birmingham, 80, 90 mile per hour winds headed towards Hamilton. You have got to take cover. If you have friends or family who are in the path of this storm, they need to seek shelter. As Wes was saying, this is not a situation where you want to be in a mobile or manufactured home. They are not going to be safe in a situation like this. So we'll look at some of these towns. It actually right now, Wes, is coming into Bexar right along that I-22 corridor. Scottsville, Barnesville, Weston, Hamilton, Pig-Eye. These are all in the path of this dangerous storm that is packing a punch with 80, 90 mile per hour winds. This is a confirmed tornado that has likely already produced some damage across East Mississippi. So this is moving to the north and east at 60 miles per hour. So it's moving very quickly. Once it moves through, the worst of it will be over, but there's still going to be damaging winds and heavy rain and of course thunder and lightning with this storm as well. So if we get a better view here, Wes, I'll go ahead and pull up some of these streets that we're seeing here so people can see exactly where this storm is and who could be in the line of fire.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's get in here for a close-up on this. This is around Bexar, and I was just trying to think of some areas in here. If you're watching around Scottsville, and the Scottsville Volunteer Fire Department is going to be back in this general area. There's Scottsville right there. So Gas Plant Road, if you're in that area, Gas Plant Road and around the Scottsville Volunteer Fire Department, I want you in that safe spot. This thing is, there's some big-time circulation going on in here, and you can see that very broad circulation, but at any moment this could tighten up or we could still have a tornado producing damage. Keep in mind, this thing started out, it moved into southwest Mississippi from Louisiana, and it's likely produced damage maybe 80% of the time. It's crossed the entire state of Mississippi, and now it's moving into Alabama. So this thing has a bad history as it has moved out of the Magnolia State and now moving into Alabama. The Welcome to Alabama, Sweet Home Alabama sign is like right here. So if you've driven in on I-22, I mean, this is right there at the state line, the Welcome to the State marker. That's about where this thing is crossing as it now moves in across I-22. I mentioned Bexar, Taylor Road, Reed Road, there's Scottsville. Back in here, if you're around Highway 19, the Scottsville Volunteer Fire Department. Also, I mentioned around Gas Plant Road. If you're around Gas Plant Road, you are in the path of this as well. So now, as Lauren is noting, you're looking at some of the winds. Now, this is looking aloft, just some of the estimates there. You can see 100-plus mile per hour winds with this. Some very strong winds with this storm in general as it moves to the northeast. So we've got severe thunderstorm warnings. We've got tornado warnings now happening in Lamar and Marion County. Let me move some things aside so you can see where this is with respect to, there's Tuscaloosa, here's Birmingham, and here's Anniston. Again, this is well north. The way this is moving, if you were tuned in here from Jefferson County, this storm is staying north of us. Jasper, this is going to stay north of us. It's staying north of Tuscaloosa at the moment. But all this weather is just now starting to move into the state. But this still is the area that has really seen the most favorable ingredients in the data right through here. So that's why we're seeing this tornado warning. That's why we're getting these warnings. Now, what Lauren is doing is showing you the next 60 minutes, putting those first alert times on here. And if we track this, while there's a warning across northern Marion County, that one storm, as we move things along, you'll see that little circulation, and things are kind of evolving more into a line. It looks like that's going to lift in here around Hackleburg, right there around Dismal Canyon. You see right there? Now, Red Bay is here, so Phil Campbell, if you're in the Phil Campbell area, you're watching Fox 6 out of Birmingham. I know that's just outside of our DMA, but I know a lot of folks watch us here. If you're in Phil Campbell, we're giving you the first alert. That is going to be moving your way. So we may see that included there in the Franklin County, Hackleburg, up towards Phil Campbell, moving in that general direction right there, okay? So that's going to be near Russellville to Phil Campbell as that moves north. But these storms, these severe storms in general, you can see there through 1217, pushing through Guin, Winfield, moving into Carbon Hill, Lynn, Natural Bridge, Delmer areas, Highway 13. You'll be impacted. Double Springs, we're giving you those times. There's 11:22. Let's take this on out, Lauren. We'll kind of move things along. And 12:22. So 60 minutes. So there we go. Next 60 minutes, there's a look. And we'll continue to showcase this, give you those first alert times, but that's what you're looking at. Now, I'm not saying there's going to be a tornado in those locations at that time, but just know this intense line of storms will be impacting those areas there by 12:22. Okay, so tornado warning still continuing here. This looks better, Lauren, based on what we're seeing right here. We have a confirmed tornado. We've had several warnings out of this storm. It's kind of interesting, though, how this is, wow, this thing's moving quickly. I mean, look at this. It is already across I-22. This is right over Scottsville. I mentioned where the volunteer fire department's located. That is very close to where this is going to be right there off of Highway 19. And at this point, it seems like the strongest circulation is staying just north of Hamilton. So Hamilton looks like this is passing. You can see it's close. I know the wind is whipping, and typically, you know, you can have, when you get south of a mesocyclone like this, you get south of where we have a tornado, that low-level jet, it can really be strong. I've seen some of those winds out of the south, these inflow, these winds that flow into the storm. Sometimes you can get some gust in there over 40, 50 miles per hour. So we're probably getting some strong winds right now. In fact, I'm checking in here. We do have some folks that are reporting in there from Marion County. Seeing here the National Weather Service in Huntsville, they're reporting, there have been, I want to note there have been some storms across the Tennessee Valley, far north of Alabama. I'm seeing here from the National Weather Service in Huntsville that they got some reports right now of some damage in the Florence area. Emergency managers reporting a tree down on a vehicle with entrapment in the 7 Points area of Florence. So they're dealing with a lot of wind damage here to the north. There's a tornado warning around the Elkmont and Athens area. Here's Decatur in here, Tennessee River. So that's north of there. If you do have friends, family around Hazel Green, Rogersville area, may want to text them, give them a call tonight, let them know that, you know, there is some active weather that you're seeing us tracking here. Again, this is in the Huntsville market, our station WAFF, our sister station. I know my friend Brad Travis, Chief Meteorologist WAFF's likely on air right now covering this storm now moving through the Rogersville area. We're going to stay with you here for we cover Marion County, stay on this storm right now that is moving through Marion County. Lauren, is that a different severe thunderstorm tag that we have on here? I just want to make sure. So
yes.
This is another product that you see it says destructive on this. So this is a severe thunderstorm capable of producing some of the higher end winds when it comes to a severe thunderstorm. About as when it comes to classifying severe thunderstorms, you see the term destructive on that. This is the kind of severe thunderstorm where we want to make sure you are treating this like a tornado warning. We want to make sure that you are in a secure location anytime. So outside of that tornado warning polygon, if you are anywhere from, I know I've been talking about the tornado threat staying to the north, but with this destructive tag, if you're anywhere from Twin up to the Bryn area, I certainly want to make sure you're in a site-built structure and you're in a safe spot, because that's an indication when the Weather Service, when they pull out that kind of warning, we're anticipating some winds over 70, 80 miles per hour with something like this moving through that area. So make sure you are in a secure location. I know we're talking a lot about the tornado threat, but just want to note this is a severe thunderstorm with, you see that, the destructive tag on it, and that stands for those winds possibly gusting over 80 miles per hour with this as this moves through Marion County. when we see these warnings pop up, that's probably why you may be getting, if you have your security system going off, if it gets those weather alerts, it may be going off for this severe thunderstorm warning now that's in place. And this would include the Bryn area, Piney Grove. I mentioned a few moments ago where the tornado would be located is right in this zone. You can see the circulation has broadened quite a bit, but there's still some rotation going on in here. A lot of wind with this, as Lauren is noting. You can see 102 miles per hour. Let's go to the triple threat, Lauren, and take a look at that, the Barron triple threat. And, okay, so is that from Birmingham or Columbus?
Columbus.
Okay. So just curious there. You know, when you're looking at those velocity products, you're not factoring in a lot of the surface influence as well. You're kind of looking up into the storm sometimes, and actually that's what you are doing in these cases. But a lot of different warning polygons. I believe that might have been downgraded now from confirmed tornado, perhaps. So radar indicated now. So now we're going to radar indicated tornado, located near Weston or 7 miles north of Hamilton. So Hamilton, as we told you, this is staying, you can obviously see it right there. This is north of you. And I'll tell you, this is near Grady Williams Road. If you know where that's, the Grady Williams Road area here in Marion County, that's about where this is located at the moment. But it's still tracking in the direction of Hackleburg. Stay put, Hackleburg. We're definitely not sounding the all clear. Now, if you're watching in Bexar, this has passed. If you're in the Bexar area, the tornado threat is now off to the east of you. If you're in Scottsville, this is to the east of you as well. But this is now closing in on the Hackleburg area. So Hackleburg, stay put. The one good thing, Hackleburg, is that instead of confirmed tornado now, mostly we're concerned with what we're seeing on radar. So hopefully this is kind of in a weakening phase. But you can see now, Lauren, that the Weather Service in Huntsville, they have added that tornado warning. We mentioned Phil Campbell a few moments ago, so they have added Phil Campbell into that tornado warning. You know, Lauren, we started tracking this at 9 o'clock tonight. You can really tell that this was moving towards the northwest part of the area, but it seems like at the moment, you know, we don't want to lose sight of what's happening further south, but this seems to be the storm of the day so far.
Yeah, Wes, this is certainly the one that is of our main concern, and it's happening in the area that we have been highlighting for the past few days that likely was going to be the area of main concern, generally west of I-65, at least in our neck of the woods, and long and north of I-20. So I will say it's encouraging that this storm doesn't look as rough as it did earlier when it was in East Mississippi and crossing over into West Alabama. But the National Weather Service noted something very important with this storm that I think we need to keep in mind. Even if we no longer technically have a tornado, what you do have are destructive winds with this storm. So we're talking winds potentially on the order of 80, 90 miles per hour at the surface that is moving into these areas like Wes was mentioning, Hamilton under the gun right now. Bexar, we can sound the all clear for you in terms of this one storm. There's still going to be some on the back side of that, but this is headed towards Hackleburg, Pig Eye, Bryn, Pierce's Mill. We'll go ahead and give a first alert for those areas that you could be hearing those blustery winds. Blustery, that's honestly underdoing it a little bit. These destructive, damaging winds that are moving in within this storm. So I'm switching now to our base velocity product. What that means is what are the winds doing inside of the storm? So you see the red here, that is indicating these strong south winds that are coming in, and where you've got the green, that's still a little bit of that weaker rotation. It's broader now, not necessarily weaker, but it is broader rotation than that tight rotation we saw earlier that did indicate that we had that confirmed destructive tornado on the ground. But we've also got the pink that's popping up here, and what I'm seeing with that pink, or these winds are coming in out of the south and west so quickly and with such strength. Now the radar is registering, okay, this is about 1,500 feet up in the atmosphere. So here down at the surface, that would translate to potentially 65 mile per hour winds that are headed towards Hackleburg. So the strongest winds within this storm right now are stretching down from Fulton Bridge up towards Hamilton and just to the south of Hodges. And this is pushing northeast at 60 miles per hour. This storm storm is moving very quickly and moving towards areas like Hackleburg and Phil Campbell, which we noted the National Weather Service in Huntsville had extended that warning into their area, which is just outside of our area. But we'll try to zoom in here and give you a better idea of what roads we're looking at that are in the path of this storm. And I'll turn around here so I can see them a little bit better. But where this is coming in, this is right along North Fork Road, Landfill Road, as you're approaching Hackleburg, Pig Eye, right along State Highway 187, Alabama Highway, and extending all the way up just to the north of Marion County along that county line south of Hodges. Wes was mentioning Tessner earlier. So Tessner, you're still in the line of fire with this storm as it moves closer to you. This is where we're talking about the potential for 65, 75 mile per hour winds. It does look like maybe the winds aren't quite as intense as they were earlier, but regardless, even if we don't still have a tornado, you have got to shelter in place, get into that interior room away from windows, because we know damaging winds alone can oftentimes cause damage that could be on the order of an EF0, EF1 tornado. So you don't want to discount the power of damaging winds as well. Sometimes you say, oh, I'm under a severe thunderstorm warning. Well, first of all, we're still under an active tornado warning in parts of Marion County, but you also want to take damaging winds seriously, because that straight line wind damage can, well, as the name suggests, cause damage when you have winds on the order of 65, 70 plus miles per hour. So we'll reframe here and get a better idea of what we're looking at across northwest Alabama. Again, the rotation is not looking quite as pronounced as it had right when it crossed the Alabama state line, but we are certainly going to watch. We had noticed there had been those discrete supercells over in Mississippi, those individual storms out ahead of the main line that were producing tornadoes, some destructive. But we also want to watch along this line that is beginning to come together here of this batch of storms, to watch with any embedded potential for tornadoes still within here, or just that damaging wind threat. Wes, is certainly something we want to watch tonight. But this is happening in that exact area where we said the ingredients likely were going to line up to produce that tornado threat.
Yeah, we're still watching it here across Marion County, moving north and east right now, crossing around Hackleburg. At this point, let's just keep a close watch on this. Stay put if you're in Hackleburg. We will sound the all clear. That tornadic circulation has now passed just to our north here in Hamilton. I was just checking in here with one of our spotters in that area, and looks like it's that same path. Seems like right now, looks like they're talking about, seems like that path's just north. We see those storms there that track quite often here north of Hamilton, but saying it stayed just to the north, but now moving in here towards Hackleburg. I mentioned the Tessner area. If there is a tornado, it would be right in this area. There's Hodges. It would be just south of you here in Hodges in this zone right now as it tracks now crossing northern Marion County. We're seeing a lot of rain here to the south. I want to expand the view, and Lauren, I want you to take the controls there and pull up that Jasper camera. I think we have that bookmarked, and let's move that camera back to the north so we can see this storm. You can see now this is moving in out of Mississippi, spreading into northern Lamar County, now Marion County. Timing 11:30. You see right there. These are the areas being impacted. We're starting to get some rain out ahead of this. So if you do start to notice some rain coming down around Fayette and here into Walker County, just to let you know, we're seeing some scattered rain. No severe storms at this point for Fayette or for Jasper. Just letting you know. But you can see where this is. There's Tuscaloosa, Birmingham. Here's Anniston. I know it's getting windy out there. That wind from the south is going to continue to increase as this line approaches there from the west. And I know Steve Crocker's standing by. And Steve, you just let me know if you have some reports as well, and we can come to you as we track this now moving in across the northwest part of the area. Let me go back to, let's see, there's the... We'll try to go to that Jasper Airport camera as well. We'll have a better view, but that was from downtown Jasper there at Young Jewelers. But just want to get a report. Look at that wind, 37 miles per hour. Temperature now 73 degrees. We have winds variable at 9, gusts up to 37. It's starting to shift around now as that line moves a little bit closer. So it's getting windy out there, as we talked about. In general, those winds quite gusty. We'll go back to look at the flags there, downtown Jasper. So I know it's getting quite ominous out there tonight, but just to let you know, the only area for a tornado at this point we're concerned about, let's go back to radar, is northern Marion County. I mean, we're going to stay with you here in Hackleburg. Let's get in really, really close. And you know, on April, you think back to that April event. You know, this is an area in here. Hackleburg really stands out, and thankfully that storm looked like it weakened a little bit. Let's check out the rotation component on this, and it has broadened up a little bit. The rotation that's crossing right there around the downtown Hackleburg area. I mentioned Tessner. Lauren zooming in to give you some of these roadways here that are being impacted. We're seeing right there around State Highway 253, the State Highway 172 area. Bear Creek, that's one community right there. The Bear Creek, the reservoir is right in here. So Bear Creek, Tessner. I mentioned Dismal Canyons is north of here. If you've never visited that area, that's check it out. The glowworms is fascinating, but that's just to the north there, north of Hackleburg. But you can see the rotations about to cross there out of Marion County. It's moving now into Franklin County. Again, we're looking at the far northern parts. This is north of you, Hamilton. This is northern Marion County now where this is about to cross. So hopefully soon Hackleburg will be able to sound the all clear for you. But just stay with us right here on Fox 6 and we will let you know when this passes to the north. So at this point, we're seeing some new warnings coming out. The National Weather Service, they're stating that they're not planning at this time on issuing a warning south of the current warning in Lamar County. So it looks as though, you know, we have some severe thunderstorm warnings happening in here. But at this point, it looks as though they're not planning on issuing another warning. But we still, you know, we're going to keep an eye on this as this is taking on. You can see more of kind of a bowing kind of appearance. You see that in here, this line? So that really stands out when it comes to those damaging straight line winds. We see something kind of evolve into that. Hopefully what will happen here as the main energy passes north is we'll start to see the rain-cooled air kind of outrun the line. Hopefully that will happen as this continues tracking to the east. But it's about to get very windy here. Haleyville, if you're watching around Double Springs, Lynn area, just stay with us and we'll let you know what happens here as this continues tracking to the east. But the tornado warning for Marion County will continue through 11:45. But Hamilton, we're in the clear. If you're in Hamilton, we're in the clear. The warning has ended for us. Scottsville, threat has ended for us. Bexar area, threat has ended for us. Hopefully, we got this through here with little to no damage. We're trying to get some new information here. No plans on issuing another tornado warning coming in from the National Weather Service at this time. So they don't have any plans on continuing any warnings in Winston County. So just letting you know we're in direct communication. We'll let you know what the Weather Service is thinking here as we follow along with John DeBlock and the team there. Chris Darden at the National Weather Service in Birmingham. They cover Marion County. The Weather Service issues the warnings. That's why, you know, when we're in close partnership in times like this, you'll see us mention a lot the National Weather Service. We're in close communication because they issue the warning products and make that weather radio go off and those phones. So they sound the alerts, and we want to make sure that you know, we can stay in close communication with what they're also seeing from spotters out there in the field. But if we do, you know, have any information, we'll certainly pass it along for this area. But it looks like the worst of this right now starting to kind of lift in here towards Phil Campbell. Still a dangerous storm. There's going to be some strong winds out of this as this moves into the northwest areas. You don't see these kind of ingredients like what we've been telling you about all week with this instability, the wind energy, you know, here across these northwest areas. The risk is there for some damaging winds, straight line winds, if not a tornado. What you're looking at across Marion County at this point, that is a severe thunderstorm warning for not only severe winds of 60 miles per hour, but destructive winds, 80 plus miles per hour possible with something like this. And still a lot of our velocity products showing some indications there off the surface. You see those winds there was showing 98 miles per hour. I mean, look at that. Some of those winds there gusty with this line that's moving through 57, 77 miles per hour. So this is a very dangerous line there that's moving through. We'll probably see, Lauren, you know, we may want to check, you know, sometimes we can often get some truth about what's happening with the winds by looking at the power reports, and we can look at those county-wide numbers as well throughout the morning hours. So National Weather Service in Huntsville, There have been some tornado warnings across North Alabama, Lauderdale, and into Limestone County, and they have allowed those to expire across Lauderdale. So if you're concerned about, some of the weather that's been happening across the Tennessee Valley. So it's 11:41 here. Chief Meteorologist Wes Wyatt with meteorologist Lauren Linehan. We've been with you here, watching this active weather has really been more pronounced back to the west and the northwest part of the state so far tonight. Things are still lining up as far as the timing goes. You can see it's 11:41. That's right around when we expected this to move in, after 10 o'clock. And right now there's a watch in place for Walker, Coleman counties, Fayette, Lamar County. And what might happen, we're not seeing a lot back in the Mississippi, so we may already be seeing the upper support kind of lifting away. There's a storm system northwest of us that's kind of passing by a trough, and as that swings on by and we start to lose that energy, we start to lose one of those severe weather components. Hopefully that will continue to lessen the threat. At least that's what we're expecting as this moves north. And for the rest of the night, the main risk is more than likely going to turn into that risk for some damaging straight line winds as this continues further east. You can see some counties being trimmed away from the watch, obviously behind the line. Once this line passes, threat is over, and we're already, for at least parts of Marion County, able to sound the all clear. But that line to the north, it still looks like some nasty weather around Hazel Green. You see that? And these little bowing segments from Nashville. Some ugly weather right now, Huntsville to Nashville, where that line is crossing there as well. I believe, I know you're looking at the map, you see the little purple for confirmed tornado. It takes that a little while to drop from our system, so just to let you know that this has been downgraded just a bit as far as that tornado warning goes. Now the one that's moving into the north and getting some rain out ahead of this, Lauren. It is interesting to see a little bit of this wet weather that's developing. I know the wind flow, we checked that Jasper camera a few moments ago. It was quite gusty, and I'll tell you what I want to do here. I want to log in. I want to try to pan that camera around to get a view of this storm, just to kind of get an idea of what the lightning's like with this. I want to throw it back over to you, Lauren, for a quick update as we both, just continue to track this across our northern counties.
Hey, Wes. Yeah, I will say this is looking encouraging, that the general trend as these storms have been moving in from Mississippi is that they don't look quite as awful as they were in Mississippi. That's not to say these storms aren't dangerous, especially where we have these warnings in place. As our friends at the National Weather Service were saying, even if you're not technically under a tornado warning, if you're under a severe thunderstorm warning tonight, this is one of those nights you want to take that seriously and do exactly what you would do in a situation like this. When you have a tornado warning, you still want to go to your safe spot, interior room, away from windows. When we do have these situations like destructive tornadoes, we always recommend you have hard-soled shoes, a helmet when you go to your safe spot as well. So this is certainly that time of the year when you want to execute that severe weather safety plan when we do have tornado warnings, and in this case, severe thunderstorm warnings issued. So I'm going to turn off the tornado watch here where you see that yellow, so the map doesn't look as cluttered and you have a better idea of what we're looking at. So again, there is still a tornado warning in place across northwest Marion County, where you see that red polygon highlighted there, that Hackleburg is in, but this is already moving out of Hackleburg, and we're still not seeing that distinct rotation anymore that we did earlier. But as Wes was noting, look at what has changed here with the line. Instead of seeing a supercell thunderstorm, that has now become embedded within this line, and it's beginning to take on a bowing segment. If you think about a bow and an arrow, think about the shape of the bow. That is what we're beginning to see here. And as meteorologists, when we see that on radar, that indicates to us, okay, you've got damaging winds that are being produced along this line. And that's been the problem with this line, is it's been coming in from Mississippi, is that we've been seeing radar estimates up about 2,000 feet up into the atmosphere. We're saying winds that were on the order of 100 miles per hour. So you translate that down to the surface, and that could have been potentially 80, 90 mile per hour winds as this roared and moved into western Marion County. But right now, we're seeing still the potential where you see these severe thunderstorm warnings in place for winds on the order of 60 plus miles per hour. So this severe thunderstorm warning has now been extended into Winston County. And so we are seeing now the worst of the winds that are along this line where we mentioned that Boeing segment from Haleyville down towards Thornhill and Piney Grove. This is now pushing eastward. So we're going to see if we can get potentially a track on this to give you some of those first alert times. So we have an idea of, okay, as this moves into Winston County, when could we see? I'm not seeing one pop up here. Unless I'm not looking correctly. Okay, no, we don't see one popping up here necessarily, but I'll go ahead and tell you, if you live in Forkville, Ash Ridge, Rock Creek, Double Springs, Ellaville, we're going to go ahead and give you a first alert for winds on the order of 60+ miles per hour coming in. And we do want you to treat it with this potent line of storms like a tornado warning, in the sense that you want to make sure you're on the lowest level of your home away from windows, because these are the kind of winds that not just could cause spotty power outages, as Wes was mentioning, but this could take down trees. We've been telling you all night to secure those loose outdoor items. And with this type of situation, if you live in far northwest Alabama, as these storms have been roaring in with these dangerous winds associated with them, if you have any friends or family who live in mobile or manufactured homes, you certainly don't want to be in those when these dangerous storms are coming through. But the general trend, Wes, that we're going to be seeing as we go through the night is that these storms will weaken as they move eastward, but that's not to say we're totally in the clear just yet.
All right, and Lauren, pull up that Jasper camera. You should be able to grab the controls over there, and we'll get a good view of that storm that's moving into Winston County. I want to zoom in and show you where this tornado that we're tracking, or at least the strongest signal that we're seeing of this possible tornado, is located here, and that is over into northern Marion County. Let me make sure I have everything activated over here. But this is in northern Marion County and moving into southern Franklin County, tracking to the north and east direction. And let's see if, okay, here we go. So, yeah, this is in northern Marion County, southern Franklin County. It's lifted out. Hackleburg, we can sound the all clear for you. The way this has moved now, you can see this has now tracked to the north, now getting closer to places like there's Phil Campbell. You can see that is crossing right there around County Highway 13. That's going to take this up towards, if you're in Lawrence County, folks around the Moulton area, giving you the first alert if you are watching tonight. You know, it's the middle of the night. A lot of folks here on this Friday night might be sleeping. If you have friends, family in that area, that's why we're with you here, is we just want you to let them know that we have some strong storms approaching. It does look like, though, the circulation, you can see it's continuing to lessen, and actually, look, note they have dropped the tornado warning, so that's a good sign there. So for Phil Campbell area, they have dropped the tornado warning. So this thing really rolled into the state, and it hit an entirely different level as it started moving in, but thankfully it has weakened there. As you can see, it's continuing to the north. But these are all severe thunderstorm warnings. You can see right there, Jasper. I mentioned there's a camera there at Sanders Aviation. We'll have a pretty good view here to the north of this storm. That's right there from Poplar Springs and north to Double Springs. That's crossing Winston County. So we'll have a pretty good view of that storm there as it crosses Winston County. There's Hackleburg. Again, Marion County still showing this. This is what we call a destructive severe thunderstorm warning. I know there's different levels of severe thunderstorm warnings now, and this is the upper tier for that possibility of some strong winds. And you know, typically with something like this, especially when you have a tornado warning, you just want to make sure that you have everything covered. You know, with a storm like that that's moving through, and especially one that's had a history of producing some damage. This is the wider view here, and let me just show you. This is from Birmingham's radar site. We're starting to get some development that's happening, seeing some pop-ups. You see, here's Birmingham, there's Tuscaloosa. Looks like a little bit of rain out here around the Mulberry Fork, and you can see some rain around Fayette. Not seeing, we'll go in closer on this, and it looks like maybe a little bit of lightning with some of this starting to pop up. Yeah, I see some strikes right in here around Pea Ridge. So here's Berry and Fayette. So we're starting to get some storms. I'm not concerned about anything that I'm seeing here if you're waking up to some noisemakers in these areas further south. My main concern is this line that's starting to lift further north. And you can see as the dynamics lift north, we're seeing a lot of these warnings starting to translate here in this northern area. There's Hazel Green. Here's Huntsville. So I mentioned a few moments ago Lawrence County, and it looks like now Winston County is under a severe thunderstorm warning. So we have Winston and Marion County under a thunderstorm warning, but it does seem like, even I'm talking about Marion County, worst of this has passed through Hamilton. But we're probably going to hear some rumbles here around the Birmingham area soon. It looks like out ahead of this we're getting some development. So that would be close to Little Shoal and Adger. Just be ready. You may hear some rumbles out there. Again, nothing severe at the moment. The counties that we have in the watch are to the north here: Coleman, Walker, Fayette, Lamar, and North. And we may not see additional counties added to that watch. I mean, just based on the way things are kind of evolving, it seems like that north corner, again, that's where we saw those greatest ingredients. So we might even see maybe a severe thunderstorm watch out. We'll wait and see what happens here for the rest of the night. But at this point, the greatest concern here is running right there along that 278 corridor. So again, just want to go in here for a close-up on this. There's Hackleburg, Hamilton, Haleyville, Double Springs. Let me bring in the velocity products on this, and let's go back to the Columbus radar. We'll just take a close look. And looks like we do have, right in this area, some rotation, some indications of some strong winds right now. You can see the lightning strikes. That severe thunderstorm warning, the one that is for Winston County, Alabama, that goes through 12:30 in the morning. So Winston County, severe thunderstorm warning through 12:30. But I'm seeing right now some indications right in here around Haleyville and the Bortush area. This is Highway 13, Lynn, Glen Mary, Delmer. We got some strong winds in here crossing as this system moves east-northeast at 76. At BTI at a 4.5 on a scale of 1 to 10. That is a very intense storm right there. So let me check out the triple threat on this. So as that line makes its way into Winston County, we may see this update. You can see right here the data actually showing right there, even around Phil Campbell, we still have some indications. That's why we still have severe thunderstorm warnings. You see that? Let me clear this off the screen. Right there, seeing indications, those winds right there in that 70 mile per hour range, right there around Phil Campbell. So in this area especially, Bear Creek is right in this area, so we're getting some indications of some strong winds as this continues moving to the east. This line, it's pressing its way now to the east, running right there. There's the 278 corridor, Smith Lake, Arley, Eagle, Black Pond, Houston area, down in this part of Winston County, so you can see where you are. I know we're going into the weekend. A lot of folks may be planning on enjoying some of these warmer temperatures out there on the lake this weekend. And if you're enjoying a weekend getaway, make sure that you're watching this here over the next hour as this line approaches. It's going to be closing in on our area. So again, that line moving towards Eagle, Arley, and the Addison area as it continues to track to the east. So again, that's what we're tracking right now. Let's go back to Columbus radar as we monitor these severe storms. And it looks like that little marker, anytime on our radar you see that yellow line, that line means business. Anytime you see it, I can tell you many times that pops up here. That's the shear marker. It's often associated with damage. Many times when we see that, so that has disappeared. That is a good sign. That is a very good sign. Let me clear some of this off the screen so you can see. And actually, I think, there we go. I want to get some of this off the screen so you can see this is getting closer now to crossing right there around Coleman. Meteorologist Lauren Linehan. Lauren, I mentioned a few moments ago, I think I'll go to that view that we had from, there's downtown Jasper. I know we've got that airport camera.
It's not showing anything.
Okay. So we got gusts there up to 37 miles per hour, so we're not seeing too much lightning on that view. So we'll continue to watch there. And Steve, I believe you have some information to pass along?
Yeah, I got a quick look at the Alabama power outage map. If we can pull that up, Blake. 100 people without power right now. And you've been talking about the Hamilton area. If you come over here, you see actually that number was up around 1,000, but now it's dropped about a little less than 400. That's, again, in the Hamilton area. But if you come back over here to Detroit, where you're talking about a couple hundred people there. And so we're starting to see the impacts of the weather that you've been tracking, Wes. But, not that many folks. It's a relatively small number relatively small at this point. Of course, if you're one of those folks and you don't have power, of course, it's an issue for you. But we will keep track of these numbers over time to see how the weather is affecting power outages.
All right, Steve, and yeah, continuing to track, it seems like these northwestern areas, this is going to be the greatest concern again tonight. There's no active tornado warning right now, which is a very good sign. We had that one warning for Marion County. Hopefully these storms continue to behave, but a lot of red on this map. A lot of very bright colors. It certainly looks quite severe at the moment. This line, there's going to be some rogue areas in here where we have some damaging wind gusts. That's what we got to watch out for. This right now is pressing through Haleyville. It's about to move through Double Springs. So if you're in Double Springs, you're about to have some strong winds now about to move through Double Springs in here. That's crossing right there around Highway 278. There's Double Springs. This is going to be rolling in towards Smith Lake. You're probably hearing the thunder. Here's Ash Ridge. You can see the lightning starting to pick up. Again, this is not a tornado warning, but this is one of those nights where a storm like this could easily topple trees. We could see some winds 60 plus miles per hour. This thing's coming in here roaring across northwestern areas, Rock Creek area, Ellaville. If you're in Addison also, I want you in a site-built structure. You certainly don't want to be in a camper on a night like this. I know it's a lot of folks have been asking me, Wes, I'm headed out to the park. It's weekend coming up. Got a camping trip planned. What about this weather? Well, now's the time. You want to be in a site-built structure, and you don't want to be in a camper, and you want to be, you don't want to be in a vehicle, obviously, in something like this. You want to stay put in a site-built structure until this passes on by. Probably it's going to be quite ominous. I'm tell you that. Now this is going to move through. You're going to get some wind. You're going to get a lot of heavy rainfall, some loud rumbles. That's what you can expect when this moves through. It won't last long, but we will certainly let you know and sound the all clear. Now, is this something that immediately I expect the tornadoes suddenly develop? I'm not seeing indications of that right now. I think this is mostly going to get through here, at least through Double Springs, as a wind risk, heavy rainfall, lightning, maybe some small hail with this as it moves through. But right now, based on what we're seeing, this mostly looks like a wind threat that's moving through Winston County. That's why we have this severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect. But there is quite a bit of lightning. Take note of that at the top of the screen. 87 strikes that are happening in here, so that number is not rapidly falling. It's still maintaining right there, and in fact the number just went up, showing 88 strikes. So there's still quite a bit of lightning, and I know this is going to be making some loud rumbles, Lauren, as this makes its way across the area. Meteorologist Lauren Linehan also here in the First Alert Weather Center. We've been sending those updates out, Lauren, and just kind of I've been keeping one eye on that camera just to kind of see what the lightning frequency might be like there on that view.
Yeah, still not seeing anything yet out of Jasper, but we'll certainly be keeping a close eye as these storms approach from the northwest. But right now we have no active tornado warnings in place, so that's always a good sign. Now we do have severe thunderstorm warnings. We keep saying you don't want to discount this severe thunderstorm threat as we go into the evening, because these severe thunderstorms have been having a history of producing damaging wind gusts. And we actually have an update in from the National Weather Service that in Marion County and Hamilton, as these storms came through from the EMA there are multiple reports of trees and power lines down and roof damage in Hamilton. So if anyone in our newsroom is listening as well, this would probably be the spot that we want to check out for potential damage with the severe thunderstorm and actually tornado warned storm that moved through. But right now, just severe thunderstorm warnings in place. And that definitely is a sign that, okay, well, maybe as we go through the night, seeing less of a tornado threat, but more of a damaging wind threat, which that's kind of what our messaging has been as well. You could see damaging winds in excess of 60 plus miles per hour, which certainly exceeded that tonight, but also the potential for isolated tornadoes along the line. And that's what we saw here in Marion County, with unfortunately those storms being very devastating as they moved across Mississippi. Now what I'm going to show you here is our next 60 minutes, getting an idea of where this is going to move. So I'll try to clear the map here so you can see what's going on. So here we are right now watching, as Wes was mentioning, a Boeing line of storms, severe thunderstorms that have the potential to produce winds in order of 60+ miles per hour. So if you get a warning from your First Alert weather app or from the NOAA weather radio telling you this severe thunderstorm warning, you want to take it seriously, because these storms have a history of producing damage. Even outside of any tornadoes, we're talking damaging winds, these straight line winds with this Boeing segment. So right now, storms stretching from down towards Sulligent, Haleyville, up towards Moulton, and then this is going to be progressing south and eastward. So we'll move out in time here. Here we go around 12:30, and right now it is 12 a.m. So here we go over the next 30 minutes. Where are these storms going? Going down towards Vernon, Lynn, Double Springs. We'll go ahead and give the first alert. What we have noticed out ahead of this main batch of storms, there's some shower activity that's developing ahead of it. Now, if you recall today, we were saying we're going to be watching closely to see if we could see discrete thunderstorms developing out ahead of the main line, those supercell thunderstorms that can produce large hail and tornadoes. Well, instead of seeing those discrete thunderstorms, those supercells out ahead of the main line, now what we're beginning to see is shower activity. And what that can do is help to limit the instability as this comes through. When you get some rain falling ahead of storms coming in, that can help to limit the instability and limit the severe threat. That's not to say the severe threat is over by any means, but that's an encouraging sign that we're going to be watching here. Now let's go forward all the way out the next 60 minutes. Who is next in line here? And I'll move the map up just a little bit. We go from Smith Lake, Coleman. This is going to be knocking on your doorstep within the hour. And Coleman, don't forget, your county along that I-65 corridor under a tornado watch until 3 a.m. Fayette, we'll go ahead and give you the first alert as well. Lynn towards Smith Lake. So we're keeping a close eye on these storms over the next 60 minutes. As Wes was mentioning, we're keeping an eye on the Jasper cameras to see if we see any of that lightning in the distance as well, Wes, because that certainly shows those storms, those tall thunderstorms approaching from the northwest.
Yeah, and just watching this here on the radar, and what I want to do, we have a severe thunderstorm warning now for Winston County. That's the only active warning that's set to expire at 12:30. We're going to stay with this. Moulton area, this is Lawrence County under a severe thunderstorm warning. We're starting to get some rumbles here. Jasper, you're about to hear some rumbles. Carbon Hill, Jasper, Parrish, Highway 69 here through Oakman. You're getting some heavy rainfall. This is not severe at the moment. Nothing that just really stands out to me at this time, but we've been watching this heavy rain, these storms pressing through. I want to bring in, as we stay on this, I want to go in a box here to Steve. And Steve, I know you've got some information as well. You've been seeing some of those visuals coming in from across the area as we track these storms to the north and west.
Yeah, Wes, you've been talking about the lightning, so if we can go to Apple TV again. This is video from Richard Boyd, who's up in Muscle Shoals, gives you an idea of some of the lightning that they have been looking at up there in Colbert County, of course, a little bit north of where you've been talking about. But
look at that.
Quite the light show up there tonight in Muscle Shoals.
Yeah, almost, Steve, like you can see in that video, it almost looks either a shelf cloud or a wall cloud. I know at one point they were under a tornado warning. And just to state again, this is North Alabama, in the Florence area, you said, Steve?
Yeah, Muscle Shoals.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And you just, I don't know if you saw in that last frame, Steve, right there, you could see the purple. You see that sometimes they call it the green glow that happens. You see that?
Yeah.
What you're actually seeing there when people talk about the green glow on a night like this, and what a sight. Look at that. I believe you're looking at a tornado right there in that video. You can see it moving across. You see that? That green glow is actually the hailstones, and when the light refracts within those the hailstones, it scatters the light, and it really brings out those blue colors and that greenish hue, that greenish glow. So you see that a lot of times. I never will forget years ago when I was at Mississippi State, and we actually took a team out into Mississippi, and we talked to someone. A tornado had just happened, and the gentleman reported, he said, all I could see was this green glow. But you see that, in times when you have severe weather like this. Steve, that's some incredible video coming in there. Again, that's a tornado you're looking at, possibly moving to the north, and you can see the lightning. That is in the Florence area, North Alabama, at least a low wall cloud or that rotating base there that you can see see moving through. But again, let's get back to, we're going to come back to some of this, some of these videos, some of these pictures that we have coming in. Just stay with us right here on Fox 6. We're going to have a lot of this information coming in as we track these storms across our area. But at the moment, the one storm that we're watching, this is around Double Springs. This is a severe storm, and based on the history of this line, we're just going to stay on this a little bit longer than we typically do here on this Saturday morning. Now it's 12:05, and a good morning to you as we continue to monitor this severe weather on into the morning hours as these storms continue to track on to the east. No active tornado warning at this time, but we have the risk for some damaging winds that we were detecting a few moments ago. Looks like the gust front has now passed Haleyville. So more than likely, some of the stronger winds with this are now pushing through downtown Double Springs. Let's get in for a closer view right now. You can see crossing around Highway 278 and Rock Creek. If you're waking up to our coverage here on Fox 6 in Winston County and Double Springs, just to let you know, this is a severe storm that's moving through your area right now. It's moving fairly quickly. We'll let you know when the warning expires, but if you stay put here in the site-built structures where we want you, you certainly don't want to be running to the car trying to outrun this. If you're in Double Springs, it's too late. Just stay put. This will pass. This is going to be crossing around County Road 2. We're going to have some strong winds, some intense lightning, some loud rumbles as this moves on through, and we're continuing to see those scans coming in. And this, the way this entire line is moving here, I would say very soon, probably within the next 30 minutes, we'll see the northern end of this starting to make its way into Coleman County. And you know what's probably a good idea? Let's go ahead and do some future radar on this just to show where it's going. And you can see to the north those severe storms continuing north into Tennessee there, lifting off to the north. Again, here's Smith Lake. There's Coleman. So that line where it's really bowing out, that is really looking ominous there as far as a straight line wind threat right in this area that's about to move right there close to places like Battleground. Let's go ahead and bring in the future radar, and we'll get another eye on this. There's Columbus, and actually, Lauren, I want to go to you here, or go to your computer. Can you put this in future radar mode for us, and let's track this out. So there's the storm, and we'll take this over the next 60 minutes. This is the severe storm right here, and what Lauren's doing is taking it out next hour. You can see it crosses the interstate at 12:37, crossing the interstate, and then it continues very close to places like Joppa, Lake Guntersville, around 1 o'clock. So 1 a.m., that severe thunderstorm is going to be approaching Guntersville. It's going to move just north of Holly Pond. If you're in Holly Pond, from Holly Pond to Guntersville, Baileyton area, expect some impacts there between 12:30 and 1 o'clock from that storm. It's going to be close. That's going to move. Now, not saying it's going to be a severe a tornado out of that, but plan for some gusty winds, some loud rumbles, and some heavy rainfall as that moves through. You can see quite a bit of rain spreading further south with time here. We're starting to see some pop-ups out ahead of this. Any shower activity that develops out ahead of something like this, that's a good thing. Hopefully that trend there will continue through this morning. Lauren, do you have anything to add?
Wes, honestly, you know, we've been talking about the gradient winds tonight. Even if you don't have rain outside right now, which might be the case in Birmingham. Honestly, we've been so focused on the northwest. I'm not even sure if we're quite raining outside. There it is. So you can see some showers now beginning to approach that I-2059 corridor here in the heart of Alabama. But we have been seeing some reports, actually just checked in with the National Weather Service in Huntsville. And in Huntsville, there have been gusts up to 53 miles per hour. And that's just the gradient wind. That's not even a severe thunderstorm that's coming through. So that is a testament to the power of this low pressure system. And when you have that pressure changing really quickly over a certain area, that creates stronger wind. And that's what we're seeing, even if it's not technically raining outside where you live. So hopefully, if you're tuning in with us now, you already secured those outdoor items and have been charging your devices in case we do, as Steve was looking into the potential for some spotty power outages at least. But What we're noticing, as Wes was showing, as we look at the structure here of this system as it's coming in, we've got this main batch, and it's along this main batch that we're going to be watching for that damaging wind threat, because it is beginning to take on a Boeing-like appearance here on radar. And some of those strongest winds right now are stretching from northern Lamar County up towards Guin and Lynn, and just to actually just approaching Trinity up in North Alabama. But if you live in areas like Coleman County, Winston County, Marion County, and I'll go ahead and pull this up here so we can get an idea of what I'm talking about. We still have a tornado watch in effect until 3 a.m. Now, if you're hearing me like, oh, I don't live in those counties, am I under a tornado watch as well? No, but we do have in our areas to the north and west where those watches are. So we're talking Fayette County, Lamar County, Walker County, Coleman County, Winston County, and Marion County. That's in effect until 3 a.m. But here's the leading edge of this batch of storms here. So if you live somewhere like Hackleburg, Hamilton, the worst of it is now over. But if you live somewhere like Lynn, Smith Lake, Jasper, Fayette, you've still got those damaging winds coming your way. But something that is encouraging is the shower activity we're seeing ahead of the main batch, because that can help to cool the atmosphere a little bit. And obviously it's been a very warm, almost late spring, early summer like day here in central Alabama. So if you have that rain falling, that will help to cool things, and potentially storms may not be quite as robust as they move through. Maybe that severe threat would be a little bit lower. But let's see here. I'm going to switch back to our chat with the Birmingham National Weather Service. And what I want you to know, we've been talking so much about the damaging wind threat, the isolated tornado threat. But look what is happening with that batch of rain I was mentioning in northwest Alabama that's moving through. Yes, you're going to have the potential for strong winds along this line, especially if you live in Double Springs, where you got that severe thunderstorm warning in place in Winston County. But look at this, the reds you're seeing here. That indicates very heavy rain that is falling. So one thing that actually just got issued by the National Weather Service, and I'll pull it up here, is a flash flood warning is now in place. This is stretching from northern Lamar County up into Marion County, even just clipping northwest Fayette County and going into Winston County, because we've got basically what is happening here, training thunderstorms. Let's say you're sitting at a train track and you see a train car coming by, or a train coming by, and it's train car after train car after train car, and you're wondering when the bar's going to lift so you can go on about your day. That's what can happen with thunderstorms as well. When you have southwest flow up in the atmosphere and down at the surface as well, you get a lot of moisture that is coming in from the Gulf of Mexico, and so that can enhance a flood threat in the area. And so that's what we're seeing right here with that flash flood warning. So obviously it's late at night. We hope none of you are on the roads right now if you can help it, but this is something we want to keep an eye on, West, and that flash flood warning is in effect for these areas in northwest Alabama until 3:15 a.m. Central. All
right, Lauren, and great job there tracking this storm and helping to keep a watch on the communication out there. I was just noticing one of our weather watchers says County Road 557 County Road 68 in Winston County, some trees down in those areas. Brian Falls, one of our first alert weather watchers, sending us that report. So hearing some reports of some trees down across parts of Winston County. That's to be expected, so be careful out there tonight and throughout Saturday morning. Listen, this is just now getting into the state. Now all this is going to be marching south towards Tuscaloosa, towards Birmingham. We'll have some heavy rain and some loud rumbles as this moves further south. This will be moving into those areas around 2 or 3 o'clock. But as we've been telling you here, that greatest tornado threat has been across these northwestern areas. Someone just asked me from Blount County on my Twitter feed if I think that there's going to be another tornado watch. Now first off, we don't issue the tornado watches. That's the job of the Weather Service. However, I'd be surprised based on just what we're seeing here. Maybe some of those far northeastern counties might be included in some sort of a watch, but if we do get that indication from the National Weather Service, we will let you know. But I'm not expecting that at this time. I think the watches, based on what we're seeing, are going to hold in these northwest areas, and that's where we're seeing the ingredients, and now we're starting to see those dynamics lifting away, and that's why the warnings, that things just really started happening fast there, right? And now we're seeing the warnings starting to settle down, and now you can see it's turned more into a flood threat that's happening across these areas, and that's concerning as well. So, we're going to have to watch that there as this all slides south. But see how this rain is happening out ahead of this. That's going to rain, cool things off. So that's a good sign. So the more these little rumbles, these little showers that develop out ahead of this, that's what we want to see. Hopefully that will continue here down into Walker County and these areas south. But a lot of the active weather still happening to the north, where we've seen some tornado warnings. Steve's standing by, and Steve, you were sharing for folks that may just now be tuning in some of the visuals that we're seeing now coming in from places like Florence and into North Alabama.
Right, and right now, Wes, I wanted to take a quick look at Alabama Power's outage map once again. If we can go to Apple TV, we're seeing the numbers start to climb. We were at about 2,700 a few minutes ago. Now we're up at in the 4,500 range, and a lot of those power outages are in the northwest. Let's go to Haleyville. You've got about 37 outages there, more than 1,200 people affected there. You come back to Hamilton, a little over 1,000 people affected there. So these numbers are fluctuating, but they have been climbing in the last 30 minutes or so, Wes.
All right, Steve, and I'm seeing on the radar here, it looks like now still just Double Springs is at one area. We'll need to watch there for the watch those reports coming in. I wanted to expand the view so you can see. This is what it's looking like right now. I've just put everything into motion. You can see from Tuscaloosa to Birmingham, East Alabama. Notice how we're starting to get some showers in here and starting to see some downpours here around Birmingham. Nothing severe. If I know we've been on with continuous coverage. All the weather that's been severe so far has been to the far north. You can clearly tell, though, that little bow, the way it's moving, that line bowing out here across northern. We're probably going to see Coleman County here, Lauren included, and possibly a severe thunderstorm warning soon if this doesn't lessen in intensity, the way this thing is tracking right there along the line. If you're anywhere north, if you're Vinemont points north, expect some strong winds with this as this continues there moving towards the east. But we're getting some rain development out ahead of this, and just the winds in general. We've had some gusts out of the south. I noticed a few moments ago the National Weather Service in Huntsville, they reported that at Huntsville there was a 53-mile-per-hour wind gust before the storms even got there. So that's one of the big stories. I mean, everybody's going to have those strong winds tonight. So at the end of the day, I think the gusty winds, kind of like with that last event, you know, we're going to have those gusty conditions there overnight. And of course, what develops right there along the line. But it's interesting, the way this entered the state, things were kind of progressing along rather quickly. You can see it's really slowed down. I mean, look at this. This starts at 11:30. So the past 30 to 40 minutes, that line, if you look at Marion, Winston, and Lamar counties, it has hardly moved in the past 30 to 40 minutes further south and east. That's why we're ending up with some flooding. It's starting to train in here. And that's the thing about this system. See how it's kind of stalling out? That's what we expected. So it's losing that support to kind of kick this through the state, and that's why the severe risk is going to, we start to lose that energy. That tornado threat's going to back off. That system's going to move north. And tomorrow, I still expect this to transition south throughout the overnight, but we're in Saturday now. Later on today, it wouldn't surprise me if we still had a couple of pop-up showers that may return during the afternoon, because this system doesn't completely move out of here. So that threat for a few storms will continue into the afternoon. We'll make a return for our Saturday. But again, tonight, at this point, we're going to stay with you here now. We have some flash flooding. We have a severe thunderstorm warning, a tornado watch that's in effect. We're still watching to see what kind of reports that we're getting in there as these storms have moved through. But based on what we're seeing right now, it still looks like, Lauren, that this is going to stay below that tornado level at this time. We're mainly just seeing this manifest into, as you mentioned, those strong straight line winds there across northern Coleman County.
Yeah, Wes, and oftentimes, as I feel like we've seen in some recent events, the evolution of these systems, as you begin to lose some of that upper level support and that tornado threat begins to go down, sometimes you can switch to, well, the damaging wind threat, of course, but also that potential for some flash flooding. And so what I've pulled up here is just the 6-hour rainfall totals that we've seen in our counties in northwest Alabama. I can actually just do that 3-hour rainfall, because that's basically when it's been happening in less than a 3-hour period. So we're going to get some ideas of just how much rain has fallen within this 3-hour period from Lamar up towards Marion, and now Winston County going to be getting in on some of that. But you can see just in less than a 3-hour period, winds or rainfall totals in excess of 2 to 3 inches. So I wouldn't be surprised if we continue to see this trend towards some training thunderstorms. And those training thunderstorms are the ones that can produce this heavy rainfall and lead to flash flooding. So we want to turn back here, not just keeping an eye on the rainfall totals, of course, but we're still watching closely the potential for any spin ups along the line if that were to happen, because this is kind of becoming more of a linear setup here. But we're also going to watch for a damaging wind threat. And so that's what we've been seeing with this batch as it's been moving into northwest Alabama. Really powerful winds as it's been blowing in from east Mississippi. So looking at it here, again, you've got this Boeing segment that could be indicating winds on the order of at least 60 miles per hour, where you see what looks like the lighter red or almost the pink color showing up here. That would indicate some potential for damaging wind gusts, straight line winds along the line. And we are beginning to get reports now out of places like Marion County. We are mentioning around Hamilton. And it looks like even, I think maybe near Bear Creek as well in Marion County, not just Hamilton, but also potentially some damage there as well. So something we're going to keep an eye on. And outside of any storms, you could still see winds gusting up to 80 miles per hour. But going to keep a close eye here. National Weather Service in Birmingham was noting just paying attention closely to this, even though we're seeing that damaging wind threat. We also want to watch when we see one of these little velocity couplets potentially developing. A velocity couplet is just when you're looking at the winds within inside of a storm and they begin to tighten up, and if they could rotate, potentially produce a tornado. So it's certainly something worth watching. But for now, as far as severe warnings in our area, we just have this severe thunderstorm warning in Winston County that is in effect until 12:30 a.m. Central Time. And the main concern with this, not necessarily hail, not necessarily a tornado, but we're going to watch for the potential for anything in the way of a tornado to develop, but that damaging wind threat with winds on the order of 60, 70 miles per hour. So the worst of this right now is moving through Lynn, Double Springs, Rock Creek, beginning to move to the south and east of Ellaville, Addison. But then this is moving towards Coleman County. So if you're in Coleman County, we're going to go ahead and give you that first alert that these storms will be headed your way. As Wes noted, though, it does look like this line is we're beginning to lose that upper level support. They're beginning to slow down a little bit, which is why, Wes, we're going to be watching out for that flash flooding threat.
Yeah, Lauren, and one thing the Weather Service pointed out, let's take a closer look. Let's go back to the radar. I want to switch sources here. Let's go back to that radar view that you had. Let's take a look at northeastern Winston County and that line that's moving right there around Coleman and moving just right there around the county line, northern Coleman County, moving there to the east direction. I was just taking a close look at that. There was a little suspicious area the Weather Service was watching, and don't want to miss anything here. This would be right there at Morgan-Coleman County line. So you can see this is, let's see, what are we looking at here? Base velocity. So still look at these winds, some indications there, some strong winds at least moving in. There's Jones Chapel. This is Battleground, Jones Chapel, Coleman County. These are some strong winds moving into Coleman County. I've definitely, I can tell you this, I've seen some severe thunderstorm warnings, Lauren, that we have tracked here across Coleman County, and some storms that have looked far less severe than this. Let's go back to the reflectivity. I want to take a close look at this again. And you can see there's going to be some strong winds moving in here. So just be ready. Jones Chapel, if you're watching, there's going to be some gusty winds. The Nesmith area about to move in. Andrews Chapel. This is a tornado warning you can see that just popped up. That's that area that we were talking about right there, Lauren. This is what I wanted to zoom in on. And you can see that includes, this is Morgan County. Let's hold it right here. There's Hartselle. So north of Coleman, this storm that's making its way across Morgan County has gone tornadic again. That's a new tornado warning between Decatur and between Coleman. Now, this is outside of our coverage area, but that's that one area that was being watched there to the northeast that's now moved into again, a lot of this happening across the Tennessee Valley, but that's impacting Morgan County. So as I've been saying all throughout the night, you know, if you do have connections here in your social circles, family, friends, loved ones you may want to to send them a text, certainly call this time of day. That's, growing up around Tuscaloosa, that's what we would do. We'd call everybody on the road. Hey, there's a warning right now. Make sure you help spread the word, get the word out and make sure everybody wakes up. We don't want anybody sleeping through this. We want everybody getting to a safe spot here. Hartselle, Priceville areas. That's crossing the Tennessee River Bridge is right here if you know where we're talking about. So again, that's crossing there just north of Coleman. Priceville is right in the path of this. And we probably have a good view, Lauren, if we go to, maybe want to switch over to High Top and take a look at this.
I am on it.
Okay, so let's take a look at the velocity and the shear rate. We'll kind of go through our products and that will tell us what we're seeing. Well, this doesn't... So there's one product. We'll go to shear rate and take a look at that. So looking at the products here, this doesn't look as impressive as what we saw earlier in Marion County. I'll tell you that. It doesn't look quite as severe. Now, granted, this is a little bit further from the radar site there. This might have been more of a brief spin up perhaps in this particular case. And it could have happened there with a shorter term of scans, but I can tell you, just based on this, what we're seeing there with some of our products, it doesn't look quite as significant as far as from a radar depiction compared to what we saw earlier in Marion County. Lauren, you can jump in. I mean, you were seeing this as well. I mean, it's still a dangerous storm. Don't get me wrong. We want folks to stay put. There's a tornado warning on this, but it's not like we're seeing a tornado emergency at this point with this particular storm. It's just one that we need to stay put and stay in a safe place. I've got some reports coming in right now, some more reports from one of our First Alert weather watchers, Brian Falls. I mentioned some trees down in Winston County. We also have a confirmed house fire in the Pebble community. Possible cause, lightning from down trees on power lines. That's in the Pebble area. Marion County 911 getting multiple reports of some trees down across Marion County. I know Steve had mentioned some reports of some of the outages that we were seeing in some areas. Tree down on Newburgh Road with power lines down. So we've got some roads blocked and some trees down across Marion and Winston County. That's a lot of what I'm seeing right now from those northern areas. As of this point, I don't see any major structural damage reports coming in from those areas. Again, where a lot of this moved in, it kind of stayed on some of the outskirts of some of the towns here as this moved into the northwest corner of the area. What you're looking at, though, Lauren is keeping a close watch on this storm. We don't want to leave any storms unattended. We were talking about this one that was staying just north of the area. No warning right now for Coleman County, but we're going to have some gusty winds and some heavy rainfall, some intense lightning as this moves across the state. But Lauren's been watching this storm here over Winston County, and it looks like, Lauren, there for those areas around Double Springs, it's amazing just how much this has slowed down and the rain rates with this becoming quite concerning.
Yeah, Wes, when you begin to see these storms slow down, I mean, they're good and bad to both. If a storm is moving really quickly, then okay, you get out of here really quickly. But sometimes when it moves really quickly, it's also got the really powerful winds with it, with that forward momentum. But now we are still watching, of course, with that tornado warning just to the north of our area, closer to areas like Priceville, up I-65. But now we're going to be monitoring for that flash flooding threat too. But the one spot that could be a trouble spot, the area of interest that we're going to be watching is this batch of the storm, this part of the storm as it's moving from areas like Winston County into Coleman County. As those winds are bowing out, could we see damaging wind gusts along the line, which that one certainly looking probable, where we have that severe thunderstorm warning in effect right now for Winston County. We'll see if we go into Coleman County. That's part of the National Weather Service in Huntsville's jurisdiction. So we'll see if they end up extending that severe thunderstorm warning with that damaging wind threat. We're kind of getting into an area here where with Coleman County, where you're getting a little farther from that Columbus, Mississippi radar site and a little closer to the Huntsville one. So we'll see which radar view is best. But notice where you've got the red and the pink here that appears to be bowing out. We could have potentially at least 50-60 mile-per-hour winds there moving into areas like Battleground, South Vinemont, Coleman, and Central. So this is all pushing towards that I-65 corridor, but maybe not moving as quickly as the storms were initially at about an hour ago. So they are beginning to slow down somewhat. But we'll switch on now as we look towards one of our radar sites. This is the one out of Columbus, Mississippi. Again, if you just look at it, you've got this structure like the bow of a bow and arrow. So it is in these areas as this pushes to the southeast where you're going to have to watch as this leading edge of the storms comes through for that damaging wind threat with winds in excess of 50, 60 miles per hour. So what we'll do here is we'll pull up our future scan, which can show us, okay, as these storms push to the south and east, where exactly could they be going over the next 60 minutes? And I'll clear some of the chaos here off of the map. I know sometimes it can look a little cluttered, so you want to be able to get a good idea of what you're looking at. So if we go forward in time here, as we're tracking this batch as it moves south and east, here we are at almost 1 o'clock. There we go. Okay, here we are at almost 1 o'clock, moving towards South Vinemont, Coleman, approaching Crane Hill, Baileyton, Holly Pond. We'll go ahead and give a first alert for strong wind gusts coming your way. And it is with this batch as it's moving from Winston County into Coleman County that we want to watch for any spin ups along the line where you could see that rotation begin to take place again. Because if you're in Coleman County, you're still under a tornado watch until 3 a.m. Wes. So are you seeing anything that's concerning at this time?
I'm noticing now we have a severe thunderstorm warning now for Coleman County. We're under that severe thunderstorm warning. That, you know, we're tracking this line that's moving in. And Lauren, really concerned about this storm to the north that's moving across the Tennessee Valley. I mean, you can see here. And what I want to do, I want to switch sources. Lauren, if you could check, we have cameras around Lake Gunnersville, cameras around Collinsville. Let's try to pull some of those up, and we'll get a good view of this storm here to the north as we watch this. I know it's the weekend. A lot of folks probably visiting here around Lake Gunnersville. We want to make sure that everyone is weather alert and weather aware. The way this is tracking, it looks like you can see there's Lake Gunnersville there. We're going to get the severe thunderstorms, but it looks like the worst of this right now is pushing between Decatur, Priceville. The tornado, if it's here, if it's touchdown, you know where I-65, you cross the Tennessee River right there at Decatur. That's about where this is crossing, right at the bridge. They're crossing the Tennessee River, and it's moving towards the Huntsville area. Owens Crossroads as well could be impacted by this. A few moments ago, you know, we were looking at some of the indicators here as this was moving across. It's still moving across Morgan County, moving towards Marshall County. It didn't look, the parameters in here didn't look quite as impressive as what that storm was looking like as it moved across Marion County, but you can clearly tell there's a hook in here. This storm could be intensifying. There's the view from Huntsville radar. Let me just check some of the parameters. And you can see that green, that is showing weak rotation with this right now as that approaches or passes just south of Decatur and near Priceville. So tonight, tracking some of this active weather that's moving across the Tennessee Valley. You can see that's moving around Cave Springs, Bluff City. This storm's it's not going to be too far from Huntsville. Just looking at the velocity, some of the different products here again to the north. So that's the one warning that we have in the state. And I mentioned we do have some cameras in this part of the state. Lauren's going to effort trying to bring some of those in. If we get some of those, we'll just show you. I know a lot of people Mentone and visit a lot of these locations here, weekend getaways. You just want to make sure that we keep folks posted on what's happening with some of these storms to the north. But right now, the way that's moving, it looks like that's going to stay just north of Lake Gunnersville, that tornado warning. That's going to head in here towards Huntsville. If it does hold together, it's going to move in this general direction here. Let me clear some of this off the screen. So right now, let's get back into what's going on close to home here. Tuscaloosa, so far, it's just a lot of rain. And you can see the tail end of this line here. Now, again, we are looking at this from Huntsville. Let me go back to the Birmingham radar site, and as we take a close-up from Birmingham, you can see that line is just north of Fayette. Still some lightning in here, and when you see the lightning count, that basically includes all the lightning that's on the screen here. So see how I kind of tilt the screen. So whatever you see in this viewing window, that's the number of strikes that you see with this. But right now, the most intense part of this line in our area looks like it's right there. The Weather Service, they've dropped the severe thunderstorm warning for Winston County, but you can see some intense lightning right now around Black Pine, the Houston area, crossing around Addison, now moving into Coleman County, where we have a severe thunderstorm warning, Crane Hill, and you see right here on Battleground South Vinemont, we're going to have some strong wind gusts in here, Chances Crossroads, maybe some hail with this as well. If you're watching around the West Point area, South Vinemont, that is Centerville in Coleman County, Centerville area, Battleground, Northwood. You are Gold Ridge. There's another area I just want to mention here. If you're watching in Coleman County, you're going to have some gusty winds, some loud rumbles, and some intense lightning. And it's still popping out here around Smith Lake, but looks like the Weather Service, we've allowed this to the severe thunderstorm warning to expire. Thankfully, no tornado warnings for our area, and no indication that that watch is going to be expanded. So as we get close here, just past 12:30, you're watching Fox 6 WBRC Chief Meteorologist Wes Wyatt, Meteorologist Lauren Linehan, and also I want to thank Steve Crocker, still in-house with us here. Steve's been keeping a close watch on the reports coming in. Steve, I'll throw it back over to you because I know you're getting some reports as well as we track these storms now moving in from the northwest.
Wes, I want to show you a couple of pictures from Rolling Fork, Mississippi, which seems to have taken the brunt of the damage in that state. First, this is from Zachary Hall, and you can see that there's a truck here of some size that's been flipped on its side. I don't know if this was a mobile home, but there's some sort of storage area right here. Just a mess, just destruction right here. Even more unbelievable, let's get you over to the video that Stephanie Cox recorded. Again, this is Rolling Fork. Let me widen it out for you. And again, you can see large vehicles, they're police, but look at this vehicle in the background here that's just flipped again on its side. It just speaks to the force of the winds that came through this area of Rolling Fork, Mississippi. Just awful. No word on any fatalities just yet or any injuries, but these are devastating pictures coming from Mississippi, you guys.
All right, Steve, and yeah, just here in the Weather Center, I mean, look at those images coming in there. This one storm, Lauren, started out in the western part of Mississippi. It moved in from Louisiana, moved all the way across the state, and at times, it did weaken, and then it re-strengthened. We can go to the weather pod here. It weakened at times, and then it re-strengthened, and then we saw it moving into West Alabama. But what we're doing, we're going through, we've got camera views here. This is in Collinsville to the north, and we're just watching to see what the lightning rates are like. On a night when you look at the lightning intensity, it can tell you a lot. Case in point, I never will forget Fultondale night. The lightning, it was like that strobe light effect. When you see that a lot of times, that really correlates with the severity of these storms. And, we go through these cameras and the lightning really tells us a lot. Of course, we've got the lightning counts that we look at. Lauren, I was noticing the temperatures here. You get a little bit of rain out ahead of this, that could work in our favor.
Yes, definitely when you see rain showers out ahead of that main batch, that really helps to cool off the atmosphere. That's why we call it rain-cooled air. And so when that happens, that can stabilize things a bit. So as storms move through, yes, unfortunately, they can still have a flooding threat, some strong wind gusts, but that tornado threat often goes down in cases like that. And we're beginning to see some of those storms moving a little closer towards Jasper at Young Jewelers downtown.
Yeah, that wind just has not let up.
No,
it
hasn't. And that's the thing, even outside of any storms, we keep saying we've been getting reports of gradient winds across parts of our area in excess of 50 miles per hour. And we were keeping an eye on that Jasper airport cam as well. But here are the storms as they're beginning to approach Walker County. And that leading edge is closer to around Double Springs, Addison, and Black Pond now. And these are continuing to progress to the south and east. Now, as we were watching some of these storms earlier, they were moving really quickly. Right now, it looks like they're beginning to slow down a little bit, and when you do see those storms beginning to almost tucker out a little bit, you have to watch for the flooding threat, and I think that's certainly what we're seeing, Wes, some heavy rainfall rates within this main batch.
Yeah, it's incredible here how much this has slowed down. That's a good sign, but then you end up with the flooding threat. So really the only severe thunderstorm warning that we have at this point, you see Coleman County. This is what Lauren's referring to. You see how this is all lining up. Heavy rain from Vernon to Guin. We do have some rain falling in the Jasper area, just a lot of wind and rain, some rumbles. So at this stage, we want the rain to keep falling in these areas to the south to kind of help stabilize things a bit. But it seems like as far far as our forecast, this is really lining up, those northwest areas. So hopefully, we'll continue to see some improvements as far as that tornado threat lessening. I don't think that we're going to see the watch expanded. Now, we don't issue the watches, but we'll keep an eye on what the Weather Service says. There may be some more counties included. On a night like this, even though at this point, we don't see one warning after the other, we still have to watch it. We still have to keep an eye on this. I've seen nights like this where you go 2 or 3 hours, you don't see a warning, and then all of a sudden the storm, whether it's a little boundary, something can kind of set one of these storms off, and it suddenly, spins up rather quickly. So that's what you just have to stay on alert.
You do, and that is why we're here. That's why, you have 2 of us who would normally be home at this time here in the Weather Center tracking this stuff, because you just can't let your guard down with these storms. Is it a first alert weather day? No, but we're here because these storms are going to be impactful, and we certainly saw that, unfortunately, over in Mississippi. We've been getting reports of damage, if not from a tornado, from winds alone coming in, howling into areas like Marion County. But I will say it is encouraging. You were mentioning the tornado watch. Could it be extended or not? The National Weather Service, our friend John DeBlock, is saying they'll begin to clear counties from the watch shortly. So areas like Marion County that have had a rough night, we're hoping for the best here shortly.
I was just noticing here that what you're looking at, these are the local storm reports. So far, the only tornado reports that we have, Lauren, and let me step over here. You probably have a better chance if we go back to the wall to see this. Lauren is showing the storm reports here across Marion and Franklin County right here around Phil Campbell. So that's the one reports we have possible tornado damage at this point. This one area right here you can see, and it's the middle of the night, so we're going to learn a lot more tomorrow, obviously, but where that storm track. I mentioned earlier that this is that storm. It moved from Louisiana to Mississippi. It produced the damage that we saw over Mississippi, the tornado emergencies. That same storm crossed the entire state, probably producing damage at 70-80% of the time that it moved across that area. Seeing some reports out of this is southern Tennessee, some reports coming in from the National Weather Service, Huntsville. They are going to continue that tornado warning that's for Limestone, Madison, and Morgan counties until 12:45. Of course, that's north of our area, but for folks up with us this morning, just letting you know that active weather that's going to be moving across the Tennessee Valley, those areas to the north. But certainly, I appreciate everyone staying weather alert tonight, this morning, staying with us here on Fox 6. This is one of those setups here, unfortunately. We get so many of these overnight events, and it's just so critical that you have those ways to get those alerts during the early morning, just in case you get a warning. We've had so many of these storms sneak in here during the early morning hours. This line right now seems to be lessening quite a bit here as we continue to see it move at least into our area. Things are still a bit concerning across the Tennessee Valley as far as tornadoes. Those dynamics are kind of lifting north, but the further south that this moves, we're thinking that those tornado ingredients will continue to kind of lessen with time. So I'm seeing here, I've got some reports coming in, some more updates here from the feeds. Looks like near Boldo, possibility of a house fire there. I've seen a couple of reports there, some house fires related to possibly downed trees and power lines. Brian Falls, our first alert weather watcher, reporting tree down on County Line Church Road near Dime Road. Power lines are down. This is in Winston County, by the way, the Dime Road area. So we're getting a lot of reports across Winston County of downed trees. So be extra careful out there, especially on those secondary roads. You could have a large tree that's in an area. Let's talk about the rest of the weekend. As this moves through tonight, this is all going to settle in. And it would be interesting, Lauren, to just take a look at the news. We probably should have some of the midnight data, or not the midnight data, but the latest hourly run of the HRRR we could take a look at. Some of the high-resolution radar data for the rest of the morning. Let's take a look at that. Let's time this out and get some updates on impacts here for Birmingham and Tuscaloosa and Anniston and East Alabama. Seeing some rain there. This is Sanders Aviation. This is just outside of Jasper. Sanders Aviation, 70 over 70 here, winds at 18. So it's a very warm night, but looks like there we're dealing with a rainy setup. We dew point and the temperatures right there on the same mark. We've got the rain falling, that saturated air as this moves in. So what Lauren's bringing up, this is the latest forecast radar. She's going to step us through this. That's showing midnight, so lining up with the current time, and you can see we're being impacted here in these areas. So if we follow along, let's take this out to about 2 o'clock in the morning, and we'll see that this earlier data was suggesting 2 a.m. This will be closing in on Tuscaloosa and Birmingham. We stop it right there at 2 a.m. You can see there's, well, still holding right there, Tuscaloosa to Birmingham, making that push further south around Gaston. Again, we already have some rain happening out there, but that main line, the line is going to track through. That's 2 in the morning, and then we'll take this on out to around 3. Let's stop it right here. There's 3 o'clock. So this is showing 3 o'clock, pushing through Pell City, Gadsden, Center. There's Centerville, Alabaster, pushing into Chilton County, down into Perry County, through Greensboro there around 3 o'clock in the morning. We'll stop it right here at 4 a.m., and you can see pushing into those southeastern areas. So from Marion to Clinton to Talladega, Anniston, and into Cherokee County there around 4 o'clock in the morning. So far southeastern areas, and then it should be exiting. Now by 4, it's over for us here in West Alabama, central areas. Again, you can see that's going to slide on there around 5 a.m., pushing into those far southeastern areas. So this is going to move on through, exiting to the southeast there around 5 and 6 o'clock. I mentioned later in the day today, there could be a couple of isolated pop-ups. Of course, Fred will be here in a little while. We'll talk a lot more about that setup for the rest of our Saturday as we continue to track this. This is actually going into Sunday. Look at this. There's Saturday night, midnight. So we go from midnight into the morning hours on Sunday. What's going to happen is we're going to see dry weather, but you can see storms. You see that? Showers and storms make a return. We're still seeing Sunday night and into Monday. So just going over again that forecast for the weekend. There's Sunday at 6 p.m. The chance that we could have some rain coming back, and can't rule out a strong storm Sunday night and into Monday morning. But the threat, that go around, is going to become more of a wind, large hail threat that we're going to be tracking, therefore, Sunday night and into Monday. So the Morgan tornado warning has expired there. As we continue to follow along with some of the developments this morning, we've had some reports just to mention here around Winston County, some trees down, County Road 557 or County Road 68. I mentioned earlier there was a report of a fire that we'll work to confirm in the Pebble community, possibly from some downed trees and power lines. Marion County 911 has been getting several reports here of a lot of trees down in the area. Of course, we had that one report, possible tornado crossing perhaps right there where we had a lot of trees down not far from Bear Creek, but all this so far staying across these northern areas. Looks like a tree down on Newburgh Road with power lines. 911 urging all first responders to use extreme caution in Winston County because of the number of trees that are being reported down. Want to head back to Steve Crocker, still with us here this morning, Steve, and seems like at least from a warning standpoint, things have settled down. I was noticing there's a severe thunderstorm warning that has popped up upstream or downstream from the storms back to the east, which is kind of a sign of how things are starting to evolve from here on out.
Well, things may be settling down from a weather standpoint, but if we go back to the Alabama Power outage map, those folks are getting busier. About an hour ago, we said there were 2,700 outages. We're up over 8,000 now. And a lot of those are up in the Hamilton, or rather Haleyville area. If you come up there, you've got about 2,300 folks without power. Yeah. And then back over to Hamilton, about 1,000. But even some folks here in the Birmingham area, just north of the Birmingham airport, you've got several hundred folks without power. So Alabama Power crews are likely out trying to restore power, in addition to the first responders who are trying to keep folks away from downed trees and power lines and that sort of thing. So if you have to be out tonight, absolutely be careful. You want to stay off the roads if you can, but if you've got to be out, please be careful and make sure you give way to these first responders and utility folks who are trying to deal with this situation.
And there you go, Steve. You can see those numbers there on the screen. Steve's been telling you about these outages. Steve, Lauren also has some breaking news to pass along here from those storms in Mississippi. Lauren?
Yeah, unfortunately, Steve and Wes, we are seeing a report that there has been one fatality confirmed now in Silver City, which is in Humphreys County, Mississippi. And it looks like there are 2 children in critical condition after being trapped in a tornado damaged home. And there are still search and rescue efforts ongoing. And we certainly hate to hear that. And our thoughts and prayers with folks over in Silver City and the friends and families of the victims. Unfortunately, when you have situations like this, I know, just speaking for myself, but other meteorologists as well, one of your worst fears is tornadoes coming through at night. Of course, we never want anyone to be caught off guard, but sometimes even if you're prepared, unfortunately, things can happen. And so Silver City is one of the spots where there has just been catastrophic damage in these areas. And I think Steve was showing us some pictures earlier that we had been seeing on social media in these spots. So we just hate to hear that for sure.
And Lauren, I was just going to note here, I'm circling on the screen, that tornado warning that's passing to the north. You know, we've been talking about Morgan County and Marshall County, a lot of these areas north of here. You can see, for folks that are familiar with the Somerville area, Apple Grove, Alabama, this is north of that point. This is, let me back the view out, and I just want to let folks know where Coleman County is right here. You see Baileyton. Baileyton, this is north of you. That's where the tornado is located. Actually looks a bit more impressive as this gets closer to the Huntsville site. I just want to show you something. When we look at this from Birmingham, look higher up into the storm. Let me go to the reflectivity. I mean, you can just see how this thing is kind of curling around. I mean, we're looking higher up, but you can see there's obviously some spin with this thing as it moves north and moves across the Tennessee Valley. That's about to cross the Tennessee River, that track very close to Hartselle. Now that's moving towards Grant. Again, this is primarily in North Alabama, but the way this is moving, this is going to impact DeKalb County and into northeast Alabama. So if you have folks, they're around places like well, north of Fort Payne, actually. This is like Jackson County, Lauren, the way this is moving. This is going to go north of DeKalb County mostly. This is going to head maybe Scottsboro in that general direction, the way this is moving to the north. But there's some indication still that we have a tornado that's moving through that area. Let's go back, and I want to show you this. We're going to expand this view. And let's take this back 12 hours. I want to show you the storm. As Lauren noted, sadly, we're seeing reports now a fatality over Mississippi from those storms that moved through. And the storms first entered, see if we can go back right here. You see around Yazoo City in the Mississippi there. Actually, we might be able to take it from this vantage point. You can see there's the storm. As it first moved into Mississippi, we had tornado emergency right in this area, and then still produced damage. Look at this, all the way across Mississippi. There it's tracked just north of Jackson. That same storm moved into Marion County, the same one that produced the fatalities. You see that? Same storm, and it moved right through that area where the data was telling us, that severe weather set up to the northwest. And that's what still, at this moment, that same area is still moving through between Guntersville and Huntsville. So when we take a look at that area between Huntsville and Guntersville, let's go ahead and do a measurement on that. So we're seeing that same storm that has tracked over 300 miles across that same storm there, producing random damage as it has moved across. Now, obviously, it hasn't had the same, as far as what we know, Lauren, the same kind of impact as that has moved across our area. But that has been the storm of the night, the storm of the day, and it is still, that's why we're seeing these warnings. It is still showing signs there as it moves north. I need to get back to the Huntsville to see that one more time. That is moving towards Grant, Alabama, and Scottsboro, a Gurley area being impacted by that storm as it tracks to the north at the moment. But for us, at this time, we have Coleman under a severe thunderstorm warning. We're going to stay with you. That warning set to expire at 1:15. If it does expire, there's nothing other than that storm, Lauren, nothing that really, to me, stands out. Let me jump back on the wall, let you kind of grab the radar controls, but this might be the last storm. You can see some parts of the county have been trimmed away, but this might be this is really the only storm of the moment that we see in the area. Looks like everything else, we do have some flash flood warnings, but you can really tell this southern end of the line, which we are looking at this from Huntsville. We go back to the Birmingham radar and take a look at this. You will notice some more heavy rain in here, but this southern end of the line, nothing that's really standing out as this continues to track to the southeast. We're getting some strong winds out there, 50 plus miles per hour out ahead of this line as this moves south. So we've had some of those camera views coming in from Jasper. I've had a lot of folks here in the Jasper area sending me some updates, just about the rain falling. And there you go. You can see a little bit of rotation there with that storm that we're still watching. That's staying just north of our area. We'll keep an eye on it. Tornado warning there moving through North Alabama at this time. That's staying north. No tornado warning for us at this time. The tornado warning is staying in the Huntsville area. Right now, it looks like the Marshall and Jackson counties, parts of maybe northern DeKalb County, but right now it looks like Jackson County, and it looks like it's going to stay right there around Marshall County. But that still showing that's the same storm that's responsible for the fatalities in Mississippi, and the same one that produced the damage that moved across northern Marion and into Franklin counties, where we saw the trees down that same storm as it continues tracking towards the north. Some gusty winds around Coleman. That's what we're seeing at the moment. We got some rain around Birmingham. So far, so good. Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, over to Anniston. Hopefully this line will continue to weaken. Mentioned a few moments ago, we were checking out some of those views around Jasper and Sanders Aviation, which is right there in the Manchester area, right there in Walker County, and we're not seeing continuous lightning or anything that would indicate a sudden increase in intensity with those storms that are moving across Winston County, so hopefully they'll be able to stay below severe levels. So now what we're seeing, let me double check on this, looks like we probably have some damage happening right now. Let me go back to high top radar and take a look. Okay, so we're looking from the Birmingham site, and you can see obviously it's still got some strong rotation, upper level rotation with that storm. Anytime you see this marker, I mentioned earlier in our severe weather coverage that pops up, that's what we call our shear marker, and very few times have I seen that and we not at least have a tree that's toppled somewhere. I mean, that usually correlates with some strong winds. So if you ever see that pop up on our screen here, especially in the springtime and in the fall, use that as a first alert, okay? Know that means that there could be some damaging winds, maybe not a tornado every time, but certainly some strong winds when you see that. This is some incredible technology that we have here, and I've seen it happen too many times when we see those little what we call shear markers that pop up, but that is staying to the north, as you can see at this time. So right now, mostly a lot of rain. Steve, do you have any additional reports you want to jump back in here? I know you were sharing some of the power outage numbers that we had. Sadly, that news that we're now seeing coming in from Mississippi. Yeah, and seeing some more information that I'm trying to confirm, but I can go back to the power outage numbers if you like, but that's about it. But looks like the numbers are holding steady in terms of power outages around the affected areas here. Still right around 8,000 power outages at this point, and we know that Alabama Power is trying to get folks back online as soon as they can. But again, a lot of those outages, if you look at their map, again, a few around the Tarrant area, but a lot of them up in the northwest part of our viewing area, as you've been talking about, Wes. Where were we? Hackleburg and Haleyville. So, we are hoping the best for those folks. Hopefully, none of the same news that came out of Mississippi will affect us in our viewing area. Yeah, and considering, Steve, what kind of storm, we're seeing the reports out of Mississippi, the kind of damage that that one storm produced. It's amazing, to see just how far that storm has made it now. It's about to clear North Alabama, but hopefully this is kind of the peak of this event. It's kind of lifting out of here. Hopefully we can get this out of the state without any significant damage, especially with the history like what we have seen with this storm. This rain that is falling to the south, this is a good sign. Lauren, let's go to the wind gust on here. Let's go ahead and plot some of those wind speeds, because I know a lot of us were waking up to these strong winds out there tonight. It's quite blustery, and you can see that we do have some intense winds. Look at Winston County. I wonder if we almost have kind of like a wake low kind of situation going on here, Lauren. You look at some of these 50+ mile-per-hour winds happening there around Winston County. According to some of the current estimates here, 30, 40 mile-per-hour winds, even down into Tuscaloosa County. You can see Lauren plotting those winds. So even when you get 30+ miles per hour, that's going to bring down some trees in some areas. It doesn't take much. I often say wind is one of the most overestimated things out there. It's surprising what a 30-mile-per-hour wind can do if it catches a large tree a certain way. So we'll probably have some more reports of these downed trees, and certainly be extra careful here coming up on 1 o'clock in the morning, and make sure that throughout the morning, if you are traveling, getting out early, that you just play it safe on some of these secondary roads. Heavy rain and gusty winds. That's what a lot of areas here right now are seeing. We're just staying with you a bit longer. Want to let this warning expire over Coleman County, which seems to, well, it will soon. You can see some areas being trimmed away, but mostly just a lot of rain. In fact, that line, even what's moved into Coleman County, to me, looks like it has lessened in intensity a little bit. You can see we have some development out ahead, actually, of the main line. So just a lot of wind, a lot of rain. That warning set to expire here at 1:15. So we'll kind of stay with you. I know this is waking a lot of folks up out there tonight. Lauren, you get those rumbles, you get the thunder, and especially after watching this for multiple days. The good news is I believe Marion County has been taken out of the tornado watch, so get some rest. If you're in Marion County, you're out of the watch, so we're starting to see some counties being trimmed away. If we can put the, I believe you can see in the corner of the screen there, we've got the weather map. You can see that Marion County is green, and that's because you're seeing that flood advisory. But as far as the tornado watch, Marion County tornado threat is over, and very soon we'll be able to sound the clear for Lamar County. Right now, this line, as it moves further south, nothing at this point, even though we're still seeing that watch, Fayette, Jasper, around Smith Lake, there's just nothing that really just stands out at this point, but we'll continue to watch it, especially here across these northwestern counties. Lauren?
Hey Wes, yeah, I mean, I'm not seeing anything overly concerning. Just so we're clear, we're not on TV because there is a tornado warning. We're here right now because we think the weather is impactful enough in our area that this information could be of relevance to you. If you're waking up right now in the middle of the night, you may hear some booming thunder or the lightning flashes sometimes. If you don't sleep with an eye mask like I do, you could see that lightning flashing, and it could certainly wake you up if you're a light sleeper. And of course, these winds are nothing to play around with. We've been seeing gradient winds alone outside of any thunderstorms in excess of 50 miles per hour. So this system definitely means business. I think we're shifting more to a situation where tornadoes may not be the primary concern in central Alabama, but more flash flooding and still the strong winds, not just within the storms, but the gradient winds outside of the storm as well. So we'll keep a close eye on any potential for flash flooding. As we look at just here over the past 3 hours, how much rain has fallen. We'll switch over to the Columbus, Mississippi radar site. That gives us a better idea of just how much rain has fallen within the past 3 hours or so. This is where a flash flood warning is currently in place as well. Actually extended out there. There we go. So in some spots we have seen almost 4 inches of rain here within a 3 6-hour period. And I say that because, I mean, storms really started moving in around 10 p.m., getting a little closer to northwest Mississippi, but hopefully you don't have to be out on the roads tonight. If you do, We always say if you encounter a flooded roadway, turn around, don't drown. This is certainly not the type of weather you want to drive around in. Even if there's no tornado warning, no one wants to drive around when it's dark outside and heavy rain is falling. But one of the most potent things are still going to be the winds with this system. And the good news is if you're in Marion County, unfortunately, I know you saw some damage with some strong winds that came through earlier as that awful thunderstorm from Mississippi crossed over the state line. We are seeing some improvements being cleared from the tornado watch, but the heavy rain is still going to be continuing to fall with this batch of storms. And as we were mentioning earlier, when we were looking at the radar, here we are out of the radar site in Birmingham. Notice, yes, we have this main batch here, but look what's developing out ahead of the main line now. If this were a situation where there was still a lot of instability in the atmosphere, there's some, and that instability is what fuels storms, but we are getting into a nighttime situation where some of that best instability is now being pinched off right now. That upper level support is beginning to move away higher up in the atmosphere, and so that's why we're kind of seeing more of the intense storms right now in North Alabama, closer to that upper level support. But this shower activity out ahead of this main batch could certainly be beneficial, because when you have that rain, it helps to cool the air. And when the air gets cooler, it's not as unstable anymore. So I suspect as we see this rain here potentially beginning to fill in with this main batch as it comes through, it might not be as intense as it moves towards the I-2059 corridor. Now, is that to say we couldn't see a severe thunderstorm warning? No, we've got a lot of wind energy with this system. Outside of any storms, gusts have been over 50 miles per hour. But even the National Weather Service is saying, okay, may not have a tornado watch for the rest of the night, but we could have a severe thunderstorm watch. But the tornado watch that is in effect right now is until 3 a.m. But we are seeing some encouraging signs here with the showers out ahead of the main line, helping to cool things down a bit, and that the storms aren't looking quite as robust. Now, from Coleman County up into northeast Alabama, still some intense storms along this line. If you are in Coleman County, I've been seeing some reports on social media that you're just hearing that booming thunder, the lightning, of course, just lighting up the sky. Probably hard to sleep in this type of weather. And I know probably a lot of you have had a long week, ready to go to bed and sleep in on your Saturday. But once these storms move through your area, then you can get some good rest and maybe sleep in tomorrow. But as of right now, if you aren't in this area north and west of I-2059, you still got storms coming your way. First alert for that. We're hoping we'll continue to see this weakening trend as they push to the south and east. But mainly one of our bigger concerns that we're going to be shifting to over the next few hours is a damaging wind threat and a flooding threat if we continue to see training thunderstorms. You probably heard us mention these training thunderstorms a few times. If you're sitting at a train track and you see a train passing by, train cars coming one right after the other, and you're getting impatient because you need to go somewhere and the train's just not moving. Well, that can sometimes happen when you have thunderstorms that develop one right after the other. One comes through and another is right behind it. And so we're going to be watching for that tonight. When you get a setup like that, flash flooding is possible. And we have seen that from northern Lamar County up towards Marion County and Winston County and stretching into parts of Coleman County. And the heaviest rain night right now is stretching from down towards Vernon up towards Scottsboro in northeast Alabama. But if you're just tuning in, if you're hearing the booming thunder outside or the blustery winds knocking things around, you can just hear it whistling through the trees. If you're tuning in, maybe you've fallen asleep and wondering what in the world is going on. There's no active tornado warning right now. We're here right now because it's late at night and you're probably wondering what is going on and just need us to maybe give you a little bit of confidence to go back to sleep. But we do have an active severe thunderstorm warning in Coleman County. This is one of the spots that the winds have been outside of the storm up to 50 plus miles per hour. And then within the storm, we could be seeing winds on the order of 60 plus mile per hour west.
All right, Lauren, and yeah, we're going to stay with this one storm that's moving through Coleman County right now. A severe thunderstorm warning still in effect until 1:15, so we have a little ways to go, but the wind and the rain has really picked up here in downtown Coleman. This is a live look from WKUL, temperature at 64 degrees, so looking at that, that is a good sign. We see the low to mid 60s, and as it continues to cool off, notice the wind gust 36 miles per hour. Actually, I want to point out that temperature comes in from Vinemont, so that's just up the road. So we're starting to get that gust front now pushing through. You can see Coleman, though, it's really coming down out there. So you're probably waking up to this. You may be hearing some rumbles. This is a severe storm, not a tornado warning, but just very windy. Just hang on here a little while. This will move on through fairly quickly, and then we'll see that warning hopefully be allowed to expire here at 1:15 in the morning. But we're going to stay with this one cell. At this point, no indication that we're going to see a watch expanded further south and east at this time. Live look from Summiton. We're at 70 degrees. We've had a little bit of rain here and some more wet weather. There's that view I was mentioning in the Manchester area right there from Sanders Aviation. Winds at 17. There's another look from Jasper. The winds have actually backed off. We had some winds earlier when we checked in here with Jasper. 30-mile-per-hour winds out of the south, and that's still showing variable, but you know, the wind, Lauren, was supposed to shift around to the southwest. When that wind starts to back, that's a good sign as far as an ending tornado threat. So we'll watch those wind directions out there as well. But still, yeah, there's Coleman. You can see that heavy rain here now with that severe thunderstorm warning that's making its way across Coleman County. You can see the total lightning strikes there, around 28 strikes, as pushing in towards Good Hope, Hanceville areas, Bremen. You can see Baileyton area, Holly Pond, and also back to the I want to show you to the west where we have this flash flood warning. Lauren noted from Lamar County where things kind of slowed down there for a little while, and this rain was just really coming down, already 3+ inches in some of these locations here, so that's become a big factor. Brilliant, Hamilton area, get some rest. That severe warning, the tornado watch, I should say, has expired. So now I'm not worried about any severe thunderstorms, no tornadoes for you right now. In fact, soon we'll be able to clear some more counties out of that tornado watch here for these areas to the northwest. Double Springs, you can see 2 to 3 inches of rains fallen. So we've dealt with that. We've dealt with that flooding risk. Let's get back in here. This is North Alabama. Look at this, Lauren. We now have another confirmed tornado now. This is just outside of the area, but I know a lot of folks are maybe enjoying a getaway around Lake Guntersville and perhaps around Mentone, some of these areas to the north. There's Rock City. There's a confirmed tornado, and meteorologist Fred Hunter's here as well. And Fred, if you want to jump in on this, I know you're very familiar with this part of the state here, these storms that are making their way through. There's Grant being impacted. This is a confirmed tornado warning that's crossing right there north of Lake Guntersville. That's going to put this here very close. It's moving in the direction of Rock City. If you have family here, you're waking up to this, make sure that you help spread the word on what we're tracking. You can see some strong rotation there that's moving across the northern part of our area. That's right there around the Alexander subdivision, the Claysville area, moving to the east direction. We might have to put the severe storm cell marker on this, Lauren, and that might give us some first alert times for folks that may be watching even on the First Alert weather app. Perhaps you're tuning in from far away. We can put some of those on there. Okay, let me switch sources. So I had a different radar source pulled up. So there's Fort Payne. So you can see that's actually going to track there just north of Fort Payne. So here's center. So we've got a lot of folks watching us here in Cherokee County tonight. And is part of Cherokee County included in that polygon, Lauren? So it looks like our county. Yeah, Cherokee County's not in the actual tornado warning polygon. There's Blanche, Galesville's down in here, the Sand Rock area, Weiss Lake, you can see at the bottom of the screen. This is just north of us. Here's Lookout Mountain, so you can see it's now approaching there around Lookout Mountain. There's Fort Payne, so this will pass between Fort Payne, Valley Head area. Seen a lot of storms move through this area here, Lauren. Looks like that's going to, now we have another, that same storm, confirmed tornado. So we've had a report here, confirmed tornado spotted. That is moving towards Scottsboro. We probably have some debris perhaps with this as well. We might check that debris detection. This is south of Huntsville. This is staying north of us here in Gadsden, but we're watching it here. Folks that are tuned in tonight here in Etowah County, we'll keep a watch on this for you as this passes to the north. But there's Claysville area. This is staying well north of Gadsden at the moment, crossing right now. It looks like it's going to be moving into Jackson County there in the northeast corner of Alabama, but that is still that dangerous storm that we have been tracking moving across the state here. Rainsville area, there's Fife. That's if you know where Fife is. So yeah, so this is still quite the storm there, Lauren, as it tracks to the north. It looks like this is going to stay at this point north of center, and just based on what you're showing me here, it looks like it's going to stay north of Gadsden as well.
Yeah, Wes, this should be staying outside of our area. So we have been focused in here on what's going on in North Alabama. But as of right now, this is a confirmed tornado that is pushing areas eastward into northeast Alabama. But if we look at what is actually going on in our area, if you're tuning in, potentially waking up and hearing these booming thunderstorms outside, these storms have slowed down a little bit, so they're moving a bit slowly. What we're noticing in areas across northwest Alabama, we're still beginning to see some clearing. Actually, we did have Marion County cleared from the tornado watch, and now we are just watching this main line as it pushes south and east towards areas like Fayette, Smith Lake, Jasper, Dora. Jasper and Dora is where we're seeing some of those gusty winds and showers out ahead of the main line, and we've got storms stretching from Lamar County up towards areas like Coleman County. And this batch that we're watching right here, as it continues to push to the south and east, at least here in central Alabama, we've been noting it's getting away from that upper level support, so they may not be as robust as they come through. But generally, I mean, if you're just tuning in and wondering, oh, is there a tornado warning here in central Alabama? No, but there is one outside of our area in northeast Alabama, a confirmed tornado that is moving towards that I-59 corridor. Now, for us here in central Alabama, we've just been looking at some shower activity. If we were to zoom in on where these showers are happening in our neck of the woods, there's just not a ton of lightning here. A lot of the lightning that we're seeing is with this main batch of storms behind these showers as they move in. So one concern we're going to be seeing here going into the evening is as these storms push to the south and east, that tornado threat may be lessening, but we've got to watch for the potential for damaging winds and also the possibility for some flash flooding.
All right, Lauren, and yeah, we're just staying here with you as well. We're hopefully here soon. We're going to see this watch that will expire. Lauren, I'll let you just kind of check in, see if the Weather Service, if we have any plans on any new watches popping up. We have seen some watches trimmed away. I mentioned a few moments ago, meteorologist Fred Hunter's here in the First Alert Weather Center. And Fred, this is an area here off to the north. You know, I know you're very familiar with this Fife area through here, and I was just going to let you jump in on this because it looks like we're certainly seeing, for folks interested in what's happening here, some very strong winds making their way through northeast Alabama in not far from Fort Payne and the Mentone areas.
Well, Wes, this is, of course, a lot of folks who may be watching are familiar. They vacation and enjoy the recreational opportunities there on Lake Guntersville. This line really is just north of Guntersville and extends on up into Jackson County. So it's approaching the South Saudi area and the Tennessee River. The storm appears to be, this is a more mountainous terrain if you're not familiar with it. Sand Mountain is here, and this is the valley, Fort Payne. And of course, if you travel from Gadsden, you happen to be watching us there in Etowah County this morning, you go up I-59. If you're going toward Chattanooga, not a great morning for travel if you have travel plans this morning, because you're going to encounter some of those storms as you move on up I-59 and get into DeKalb County. Of course, the other side of the valley here, you're on Lookout Mountain, and a lot of folks may be watching us or waking up this morning over in Cherokee County. Of course, that is in part of our area, which we warn for. And so in the Center and Cedar Bluff area here around Weiss Lake, you may be getting some gusty winds, certainly, as well as the heavy rain Lauren was describing. But right now, the storm appears to be headed basically across southern parts of Jackson County, although we are getting a storm indicator there north of Scottsboro, between Scottsboro and Stevenson here. So if you're familiar with that area, again, this is where the mountain ends, and you go down into the Tennessee Valley, and this is the area of North Sand Mountain from Sylvania on up toward Ider, which we are watching as well. So a very mountainous terrain. I guess, Wes, the main thing to keep in mind here is if you are traveling, because of the terrain and the darkness and the heavy rain, very difficult to see if in fact a tornado is realized.
It's amazing, Fred, how many storms we see that cross into this part of the state. You know, it's so mountainous there, but we still see a lot of tornadoes and a lot of severe wind events.
Yeah, and these, I have seen this where you would have a tornado here on the mountain, and of course Fort Payne is here in the valley, and it literally will skip. So you might see the tornado come up over the mountain, lift, and then impact areas here right along the Alabama-Georgia line. So because of the terrain, that also impacts what's going on with these particular cells.
And just to stress, this storm...
This has been a WBRC Fox.
And we're still with you here. Just to stress, that storm that Fred was talking about, that is the same storm that moved across Mississippi. That's associated with those fatalities that happened. It's now across our state and continuing to the north, and another confirmed tornado. That's why we wanted to just give you an update on this. I know a lot of folks are awake. Gadsden Center, you're up with us this morning. You're probably hearing some rumbles as those storms approach. That, at this point, is the most severe part of this storm. But this line is yet to make its way. It's still working its way southward here. So we're going to get some heavy rain, some loud rumbles, some gusty winds as this pushes in towards Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, and areas further south. But at this point, the only warnings that we see around Lake Guntersville and areas to the north. Before we send it back to programming, we're going to stay here, and if there are any additional warnings, of course, we'll jump on. We're going to have updates at the half hour to keep you well informed throughout the morning. But I quickly want to go over one more time to meteorologist Lauren Linehan. Lauren, it looks, I just got a report here from one of our weather watchers, Brody Wesson. He's actually at Mississippi State over in Mississippi, but he was talking about, notice that in Mississippi the tornado watch has been allowed to expire, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, we're certainly seeing some improvements in far northwest corner of Alabama and into Mississippi. Of course, with that comes, as we've been talking about with these areas that have been hit by catastrophic tornadoes, that there have been search and recovery efforts ongoing. And so I'm sure that will be continuing here into the nighttime hours. But as we look here in our neck of the woods, no active warnings in central Alabama, none for our area. If you're waking up, we do not have any warnings in place, but we are watching this line as it is pushing south and eastward. The general trend has been weakening, and we are beginning to see some of these showers out ahead of the main line. You see those there. That's a good sign that that's going to help to cool down the atmosphere, stabilize things a little bit. But the one place where there is going to be an issue now is in northeast Alabama, where you see that tornado watch is. Now, this is just to the north of our area, but we do have a confirmed tornado that is pushing towards the Alabama-Georgia state line. But it is up here that you're still able to tap into some of that support from the dynamics in the upper levels of the atmosphere that can make these storms more severe, as we're seeing here. But the farther to the south you go, not so much the case. Not able to tap into that as much as that upper level support lifts away with this low pressure system. So instead, what we're going to be seeing shifting to over the next few hours as this line moves through. Unfortunately, it is slowing down, but as it's slowing down, that severe threat is lessening. What could be a problem, though, still the possibility of damaging winds, but also the flash flood threat. And we have already seen flash flood warnings issued with this system back in Mississippi and in some of our own counties here as well, from Lamar County up towards Hamilton, or up towards Marion County, Winston County, and those spots, and stretching up to parts of Coleman County. So if you live, let's say, in Springville, Birmingham, Reform, Jacksonville, Gadsden, you're like, not much has happened yet, it's just pretty windy outside. Well, this storm will be knocking on your doorstep shortly. So we are going to look really quickly at the next 60 minutes so you can get an idea of when these are going to be knocking on your doorstep. So I'll play it through here so we can see this. All right, here we are. It's about, what time is it now? 1:22. Let's go to 1:30. Again, gradually moving along. Doesn't look like it's making much progress. And then we'll go to 1:45, slowly making its way to the south and east. We'll go to around 2 a.m., beginning to move through Fayette, approaching Jasper, Aniata will go ahead and give a first alert for those storms getting closer, and up towards center it should still be off to your north and west a little bit by around 2 a.m. and then we'll go out here to almost 2:30. Again, just notice it's like, did the map even move much? Well, not really. It didn't move too much because these storms are generally slowing down, but notice how the structure changes as we go forward in time here over the next 60 minutes. Yes, you have that main line, but these showers are beginning to fill in. So switching to more of that flooding threat potential as we go into the overnight hours. But again, no active warnings for our area right now. That tornado watch is going to be in place until 3 a.m. and that's for our counties here in central Alabama, along and west of I-65 and north of that I-20 corridor. So for now, mainly the main threat we're going to be watching now as this pushes south and east and begins to weaken is going to be the possibility of strong gusty winds and potentially as well that flash flooding threat. Wes.
All right, Lauren, I just wanted to show you here. Steve has pulled up. This is actually that possible tornado. This was one of those storms. There was a storm to the north that moved through north Alabama. Steve, I'll let you jump in on this because you received some of this video and just give us a little bit more information.
Yeah, this is from Richard Boyd, who I believe said this is from 2nd Street, up in 2nd Street in Muscle Shoals, looking north. And as you pointed out, Wes, you know, I was just looking at the lightning. I was amazed by that, but you spotted the obvious tornado right there in the middle of the picture.
You see the strobe light effect going on. I mentioned the green glow, which you see that a lot sometimes when there's lightning, there's large hail. A lot of what's going on there, what you're seeing is the fuses, the transformers, the power flashes that you're seeing as that tracks across that area. It will be interesting to see, Steve, what kind of reports we have from that part of the state.
All right, and you know, seeing reports of many more power outages as you go north out of our viewing area. I think we were looking at about 8,000 last time I checked for the area that Alabama Power serves, but looks like folks north of that will be much busier through the weekend.
Yeah, I wanted to grab control here too and just show you. Let's see if I can. Gain control of the Apple TV here, and I might let you disconnect and I'll come back to this, but I have a photo that just came in. This is actually a before and after photo. Let me see if I can get access to this. There we go. This is, let me see, where was that? Okay, so this is from Steve Fleming, and this is, he said before, his parents' farm in Bear Creek. There's before, this is tonight. You see that, Steve? So that's the area where we saw where the tornado, the same one that's producing the warnings right now in northeast Alabama. Let's go back to meteorologist Fred Hunter. Fred, you were watching there around Fife and into the northeast part of the state, and I'll just let you jump back in. I know you're extremely familiar with this part of the state, and just tell us a little bit about the geography, what we're actually seeing as that same storm. Now it's about to move out of Alabama.
Yeah, that of course it's the main line right here. This is the Tennessee River that comes off the mountain here at Stevenson and here at Scottsboro. People that travel into, that's in Jackson County, and as you can see, that warning goes on over into multiple warnings. In fact, goes on over into DeKalb County. So this is a mountainous terrain. Of course, a lot of folks that watch us are familiar with Lake Guntersville in this area. So some heavy rain going on there now. If you have recreational interests there on Lake Guntersville, when the weather improves, might want to check on that. Further south, the line is still all the way down into Coleman County, producing some thunder and lightning. We'll go back to Lauren in a minute because she does have some reports on some damage here in Morgan County, so south of Decatur in the Hartselle area. But right now, this is crossing, about to cross Sand Mountain right here. This is the valley in Fort Payne. This is Lookout Mountain, and of course this goes off into Georgia. The main impact which might be felt for folks who traditionally are watching Fox 6 would be if you have travel plans this morning and you're going from Gadsden headed up toward, well, Chattanooga. That's I-59. So this heavy rain, this line of storms with a lot of thunder and lightning and wind, as Wes and Lauren have been pointing out, is going to cross I-59 probably within the next half hour or so, and then move on into Georgia. So the other point of interest would be Weiss Lake here. If you have recreational plans later in the morning by around 8, 9 o'clock, things should be improving. But certainly this line, Wes, is going to be impacting this area here around Center and Weiss Lake, which is here in Cherokee County. So that's an update really on this line of storms that stretches from the Tennessee line all the way back down with a lot of thunder and lightning still going on in Coleman County and on over into Marshall County as well. But anyone who does have travel plans this morning, the longer you can delay that, Wes, I would say the better. And these storms Lauren was passing along, they do have a history of producing damage. Lauren and I were talking about the damage report she's been getting from over in Morgan County, which of course is just north of Coleman.
Yeah, Fred. I mean, actually, thanks to one of our viewers on Facebook, they tagged me in this post from the Morgan County Sheriff's Office, and we're now beginning to see these reports popping up, these storm reports popping up from Morgan County just north of Coleman, and it looks like we have a couple of potential entrapments. So we've got one to a group home here. This is on the 1500 block of Highway 31 in Hartselle. Am I saying that correctly, by the way? Hartselle? Okay, got to check with the Alabama boys here. So that's where we are seeing potential entrapment there with a group home. I also saw one, we've got several reports of structural damage there as well, but then this one near Hartselle also mentioned a tractor trailer overturned on Northwest Vest Road. This was the report coming in from the Morgan County Sheriff's Office. And we also have multiple reports of trees and lines down around Danville through Hartsville. But with this tractor trailer overturned, there is an entrapment. So again, this is not what we like to see at night when these storms come through, because they can catch you off guard, whether you're at home or out on the road. It's hard to see, and these can certainly catch you off guard, and these have had a history of producing some significant damage in Mississippi, and now we're seeing in North Alabama. Most of the damage so far, it seems, has been to the north of our area, with the exception of Marion County. So that's what I'm seeing right now. I'll check back in with the National Weather Service Huntsville chat. Not seeing anything that's immediately popping out to me, but if you guys also as well, if you're tuning in with us tonight, if you're waking up and wondering what's going on, if you have any friends or family in these areas, or if you're in one of our counties to the northwest where you've seen this come through, you can let us know on social media as well. We're monitoring this, and so you can let not just us know here with the First Alert Weather Team, but our newsroom as well, because we'll have the morning show coming up here in a few hours, and so we want to make sure that we give the best coverage possible to where these type of stories could be impacting you with this severe weather coming through, Wes.
All right, Lauren, and we're coming up here on 1:30 in the morning. Let me go back to the source here for the radar. And what we're doing, we're staying with you here, watching these tornado warnings to the north. We've had a tornado watch. This line is getting closer to Birmingham. We'll back the view out. As you can see, Lauren has some of those storm spotter reports pulled up. Let's get back to the big view here, and we'll kind of clear things off the map. I just want to let you know the latest report we have is a reports train spotter tornado at 12:10. That was one of the earlier reports, but it just popped up here near Moulton. So possible tornado along Highway 157 near Moulton. So we had some reports there of a possible tornado. This is really lining up. You can see there more of a southwest to northeast orientation. It's becoming more linear. The rain out ahead of this, I think this is really helping us out. This is doing exactly what we expected. We saw that greatest tornado risk in areas to the northwest. That risk is lessening. Certainly not seeing what we were seeing earlier, right? We're not seeing those discrete storms and all that active weather that was happening in the Mississippi. I think that's obviously the storm of the day that's about to lift out of the state, as meteorologist Fred Hunter and Lauren Linehan were noting. That's now about to cross close to Lookout Mountain there and tracking on towards the north direction. That's mainly in Jackson County. So Center, Weiss Lake area, that's staying north of you. Gradually, this is going to continue to settle southward. If you're in Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Hoover, Center Point, Gardendale, just naming all these areas here, Hueytown, you wake up to some rumbles. What we're seeing right now, this is mainly non-severe. That's going to continue to press southward. We're starting to see some counties trimmed away from the watch. At this point, I'm not expecting additional counties to be added to the tornado watch based on what we're seeing right now. Looks like this will continue pressing southward. We're going to be here watching it closely. What we're going to do is we're going to go back to regular programming, because at this point we have no active warnings, and get some rest. Make sure you have that device nearby. If there is a warning that pops up, you'll get those alerts on the First Alert Weather app, and we'll be right back here on Fox 6. But get you some rest this morning. I know it's been a long night with all these storms moving south. We're going to watch this closely. Big shout out to Steve and Lauren and meteorologist Fred Hunter for staying in here with us through the early morning. We'll be here in the First Alert Weather Center. Lots of updates. Again, no warnings in effect right now, and no watches for most areas. We just have a few leftover watches around Fayette, Walker County. Hopefully soon we'll be allowed to see those watches allowed to expire, but I certainly don't expect additional watches to be issued based on the latest trend. I think this is settling down, and things are pretty much lining up as we forecasted, but we'll be keeping an eye on it. Stay with us right here on WBRC Fox 6 at 1:33. I'll see you back here. We'll see you close to 2 o'clock with another update as we continue throughout the morning.
This has been a WBRC Fox 6 Weather First Alert.